local. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, hanging out with you here on a Thursday after we, of course, had the day off yesterday, which was always nice. Thank you, Reds Baseball. Actually, no, thank you, Reds Baseball. It's nice for us to get a day off, but it's only for a Reds win. I mean, come on now. And the Reds still in first place somehow, some way. They've dropped back-to-back series. Of course, I knew the West Coast swing was going to be tough, Kev. I've told you they always struggle on that West Coast swing. And, they've lost back-to-back series after taking the first two series of the season, taking 2 and 3 from the Cardinals in the opening day or the opening season series against them. They swept the Pirates. They were able to take game one against the Diamondbacks before dropping those final two. And then look what happens. Then they dropped 2 or 3 against the San Francisco Giants. And to make it worse, they got shut out yesterday by former star of their own and Johnny Cueto. So that made it even worse yesterday.
Bad day for baseball in the state of Ohio. Both teams got shut out. One team got no hit. Neither one of us are happy today.
Well, both teams are saying, well, you got 2 struggling teams about to go head-to-head this week, and I don't know who feels better about who. I mean, if I'm the Reds, and I think the Reds should feel worse than the Cleveland Indians right now, mainly because Indians' pitching staff's pretty good. And the Reds aren't hitting consistently enough for me to feel comfortable about that. And then on top of that, it's like, hey, the Indians are struggling offensively, but it's like they look at a Reds pitching staff that's like, you never know what you're going to get on any given night. So it is what it is. So, all right. David Shaw, who knows absolutely nothing in the world, starts us off with saying, how about them hitting Reds? They're not hitting right now. And that's what we did. This is what David Shaw doesn't understand, Kev, is that when the Reds are hitting and winning, oh, my God, the Reds are hitting and winning. We're talking about the Reds hitting and winning. And when the Reds aren't hitting and they're not winning, okay, now we're talking about them not hitting and winning. It is what it is. Can I still play his same game and say, it's a long season? The bats will come alive again and they'll start winning and get right. Like I don't know what people really expect us to do during this little stretch here. It is what it is. But, man, we got a loaded show for you today. I'm excited. This is, typical of – look, it's the I Hate the Bengals show, right? That's what most people like to call this show. But today we're going to have Bengals legend on with us, Ken Anderson. He's going to call into the show just under an hour from now, top of the 4 o'clock hour. We will hear from him. Ken Anderson, Ken Riley are my 2 votes, if I had one, as to who should be the other 2 added into the Bengals Ring of Honor. So we're going to talk about that with him coming up around the corner, which I'm really excited about. Plus, him being a former, quarterback, former MVP quarterback, if he is Joe Burrow right now, if Ken Anderson is Joe Burrow and he's sitting back looking at the players available in this draft and he's looking back at last season, knowing that he lost the last month and a half of his season because of that offensive line, I can't wait to talk to Ken Anderson about what his thoughts are of, if you're Joe Burrow, who are you really wanting the Bengals to select? Because, I mean, you have to fear for your safety behind the line that they currently have now. The one thing I've also thought about, I was critical of Joe Burrow a few weeks ago for not coming out and saying, hey, we need an offensive lineman. The reason it's safe to say you need a receiver, Kev, is because yes, they need offensive linemen, but Joe Burrow is then having to basically, if he says we need to get an offensive lineman, Joe Burrow is basically saying we need to replace this individual. Mm-hmm. If he's saying we want to, select Penei Sewell, he is telling one, basically coming out and saying, yeah, we want him and I don't want him.
Right.
So it's tough when you ask these players what these teams should do, because I always think of it as, well, Joe Burrow should say offensive lineman, but from a teammate perspective, you also don't want to just throw your teammates under the bus. There's no one in particular that Jamar Chase is going to take too much playing time away from that doesn't already expect to play. So I get now maybe why he's saying that, or maybe he truly believes he just wants a wide receiver, which I think is kind of foolish whenever you need an offensive line to protect you. So we'll talk about that with Ken Anderson coming up.
Yeah, that relationship between quarterbacks and offensive linemen has to be on the same page. We hear about all these stories about quarterbacks buying their offensive linemen Rolex watches or dirt bikes, in the college ranks. They always take care of them by taking them out to dinner and everything like that. You need that great relationship between the quarterback and the offensive line because, those guys protect you. So you want them to be on your good graces at all times. A quarterback saying, "Oh man, I want more weapons," isn't anything out of the norm, because you can have 3 receiver sets as the Bengals run consistently. You can have a 4 receiver set. You're really not hurting anybody's feelings. So with the offensive line, got to handle that with kid gloves, especially, guys protecting your blind side.
All right, so we'll get into that. Coming up with Ken Anderson, again, former Bengals MVP quarterback at 4 o'clock. I'm excited to chat with him here in a bit. He's actually out on the golf course right now, so he's going to be calling in as soon as he wraps that up. A little bit of a chilly day to be out on the course, but you know what? I'll take this over 30-degree, 20-degree weather any day.
Facts.
Real quick to the Facebook feed, and we're live on YouTube. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. We appreciate our sponsors, so shout out to Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine for being a part of what we do here. Also appreciate all of our listeners and viewers, whether you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube. You can head there now and leave your opinion there, and we'll get to it. David Shaw says it's all. He always has to misspell something when he's trying to criticize me. That's the thing. I don't like to point out a lot of spelling errors because I make it myself. But if you're going to try to insult somebody, you might as well at least, make sure that you are covered up on your end. It's almost is one word. It's almost like someone said, relax. And it's almost like you just can't comprehend how dumb that sounds. When the Reds were winning, everyone's excited. And when they're losing, everyone's upset. I have no clue why you can't comprehend that, David. It really is concerning. It really is. Matthew Hendrick on YouTube says, Indians batting is god-awful. The pitching is what is saving them every game. I mean, this might be the best $40 million a year payroll in the history of baseball, Kev, because of that pitching. And you're right. It's like you put that with the way the Reds are hitting. The Reds got shut out yesterday, but they're still hitting the ball well. So you take what the Reds are doing offensively and give them what Cleveland has pitching staff-wise. Man, they're the best, one of the top 5 teams in baseball, if that's the case. But there's just too many holes on your team's side. And it's not too many holes on the Red side right now, but it's too much inconsistency.
Right, so yeah. Inconsistency is going to happen throughout the course of a regular season in baseball because it is such a long season. But when you do talk about losing back-to-back series, as you broke down, and their scheduling and everything like that, you don't want to rack too many of those up back-to-back. Unfortunately, it's about to be a series that I won't be rooting for the Reds because they're playing my favorite team. So go Cleveland baseball team.
I mean, a tough weekend for you. It could be very, very
could be good, could be very bad. But the good part is I'll be able to watch my team because I haven't been able to watch them all season long. That big time game that Shane Bieber had against the White Sox, I didn't get a chance to see it because I don't have that channel. But now the Reds are on TV down here, so I'll be able to watch the Reds versus the Cleveland baseball team.
Back to the social media feed we go. Nolan Russell, he says, we don't know what Joe Burrow is saying behind closed doors. Of course, he's going to tell Jamar Chase he wants to play with him. They played together in college, and I'm sure they still talk to each other. Well, Nolan, you're getting defensive. Relax. Bottom line is I don't really care if he had a lot of teammates in college. I mean, you mean to tell me he's telling every teammate from college that he wants to play with them? The bottom line is I was critical of Joe Burrow a few weeks ago because I would assume that he would get it and understand that you need an offensive line to not just win, but to even stay on the field and play. I mean, the bottom line is the backup quarterback for the Bengals is going to be excited for whoever they draft, because if it's anyone other than an offensive lineman, the backup quarterback is going to enjoy playing with Jamar Chase more than Joe Burrow is. So, and of course he's going to want weapons, but every quarterback wants an offensive line. And we're going to talk about that with Ken Anderson coming up. Look, I'm not saying it's dumb of him to say he wants Jamar Chase, but it is dumb of him to say, hey, I want Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell, when Penei Sewell is what's going to allow you to have a long and fruitful career. I'm just saying. So otherwise, we're just talking about, man, it'd be cool to see Joe Burrow be able to throw to Jamar Chase. There you go. Shaw. He goes, I don't know why. I don't know why you can't read. I can read. You literally said it's almost. Almost is one word. You spelt it 2 words. I'm just pointing that out. That's all I'm going to say. Matt Sturgeon says, Sewell. So we have like 85 different things going on at once to start this show, which I'm totally fine with. My ADD's in check right now, so we're off and rolling. Matt Sturgeon says, Sewell. I agree. By the way, because I don't handle this when people disagree with me well, Kev, I don't think you've seen that yet. Someone thought I got suspended yesterday. And we weren't on the air yesterday because the Reds didn't kick on until 3:15. So we just had ESPN programming from 3 to 3:15 before the Reds took over. I had about like 6 or 7 emails saying, good, I'm glad your boss has finally suspended you for acting like an ass. And I was like, I thought it was like Shaw on like 8 different emails, but no. So everyone was Team Kev that day. So I'm not apologizing for nothing, but I'm admitting I'm wrong. If can both be true, right? Like, I don't know. But bottom line is, but yeah, so what I'm curious about is I'm really hoping Ken Anderson says Sewell. Like, if Ken Anderson says Jamar Chase, I'm going to be like, that's what I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying.
The thing about it is what Ken Anderson has that Joe Burrow doesn't have is a long career and understanding that, you know what, the long play is the offensive lineman, but in the short term, more weapons is. But you don't gain that experience. You don't gain that knowledge until you've been hit a couple million times and you've been playing this game a long time. So, I mean, I think Joe Burrow is just doing what any normal, first couple year player would want. Well, shoot, of course I want more weapons. Offensive line, yeah, I love you guys. You guys are all right. But, man, if I could throw more touchdowns, I could have more weapons and more options out there to pass the ball to. I don't think he's any different from any other young quarterback out there. They want more weapons. But Ken Anderson knows the game of football and knows in the long run, hey, man, a better offensive line means better protection, means more deep passes, more passes. And you know what? Your ribs would be in better place. Yeah, maybe won't break your leg or something like that. So, yeah, Ken Anderson has something that Joe Burrow doesn't have, a lot of experience.
Shout out to Clifford, my man. Thank you for noticing. He says, Justin Kinner, you've lost weight. You look good, bro. Thank you. I have lost close to 30 pounds. On February 2nd, I went to the doctor, and the doctor said I weighed like close to 230 pounds, and I freaked the hell out. I'm like, I'm 5'5". I'm morbidly obese for 5'5". So I freaked out, changed how I eat, changed how I work out, and I'm down to like 200 right now. So I feel pretty dang good. So Clifford, thank you for noticing. I appreciate that. You're my favorite.
Good work, man. Keep up the good work.
You're my favorite. By the way, I thought I had my blood pressure under control by losing all that weight, but then as this past what day did I lose my cool? Clearly the blood pressure is still not in check. I'm just saying. So there is that. But where were we? My ADD is officially beating me now at this point. By the way, Nolan Russell, shout out to him too. He says I want Sewell. I think this is the thing. When we say that the Bengals are in good shape because there's really not a wrong pick out there, they're all wrong picks. Like you could end up with Jamar Chase, and down the road, that's going to be the right pick, Kev. You know what I mean? Like, 2 years from now, if they take Jamar Chase and let's say they find other ways to address the offensive line, then everyone's going to say, see, Kinner, you were wrong. No, as of right now, based on this roster, I think even Bengals fans who want Chase will understand what I mean by this. As of right now, Chase is the wrong pick because of the needs that they have. 2 years from now, if they have the offensive line and they have Chase, then everyone's going to say, oh, well, see, Kinner, you were wrong. No. He's going to be a good weapon for whoever drafts him. It's just you have to prioritize your needs. That's why I still think it would be the absolute wrong pick if they are, right there. And that's but Pitts, I feel like I can get over that one more than Chase just because of what we're hearing about Pitts. I look, I'm not a draft aficionado. I watch these guys warming up on their little pro days, and I have no clue what the hell I'm like, okay, he's rolling out and he's throwing. Okay, oh, that guy caught the ball. Wow, man, I didn't know these guys could catch. I didn't know Justin Fields could throw. I didn't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend. Like, I hate when people like, man, his pro day, he looked really good. What do you mean he looked really good?
He better look good.
Yeah, he better look good. And that's the thing that's frustrating with that. So, but the bottom line is everything I'm hearing and reading about Pitts is that he could be a generational talent. Jamar Chase could be, a very good top 5 wide receiver, whatever. I think Billy the other day messaged in saying that, there's reports out there that he could be the next Julio Jones. Well, that's fine. There's a lot of receivers who could be the next DeAndre Hopkins. There's going to be a lot of talented wide receivers. And I just think that there's more talented wide receivers coming in that you can always get in later rounds. There's not many offensive linemen like Sewell.
So rank them 1, 2, 3. Where if you were in the Bengals draft room, go ahead, rank them. Rank the guys that you will want.
Sewell, Pitts, Chase. Any one of those 3, whoever you get will contribute big picture. But big picture won't mean a whole hell of a lot if your quarterback isn't a part of that big picture. So Jamar Chase without Joe Burrow is not Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase with Brandon Allen is not so appealing anymore. And the reason I bring up Brandon Allen is because the backup quarterback is going to be throwing to Jamar Chase if you don't protect Joe Burrow. And I don't want that to happen. By the way, I don't want it to happen. I want the Bengals or Browns. Like right now, both teams are on the cusp of owning this division. And that's no disrespect to the Ravens because I just think that I have to see more from Lamar from a throwing standpoint. You can't stop the damn dude running. Bottom line is, but I'm excited to see if he takes that next step. But if you have three dominant teams, three teams made the playoffs this year from the AFC North, so no one's taking anything from anyone. All four teams can all make the playoffs from this division. It's not that big, that's how good this division is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if I had to rank them based on need right now, 2 years from now, we could look back and say, oh, well, how come I can't believe they didn't end up taking Pitts. I can't believe they didn't take Chase. Well, that's because now your offensive line is addressed, and now you're thinking, oh, man, now we need pass catchers. So then it's going to be it's easier to look back. But no, again, Penei Sewell 1, Pitts 2, and Chase 3. But Jay Morrison, when I talked to him the other day, I was very shocked. He said it's not even about Pitts anymore. It's just between Sewell and Chase. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm scratching my head. I'm like, man, if it's going to be between Sewell and anybody, I would have thought it would be, Pitts over Chase. But either way, what about you? How would you rank him?
You know what? I will go Penei Sewell. I'll be butchering his name, by the way. And then I will go Jamar Chase. Then I will go Pitts, the tight end.
I don't even know what his actual name is, because I hear some people say Sewell, so I say Sewell. Then I'll watch a show later the next day, and it's Sewell, and then it's like, and then
that's what I heard.
Yeah, but I heard that today twice. But then I was listening to a radio show out of Houston earlier today, and they were saying Sewell. So I'm like,
you know what? We'll find out when we hear this.
Yep.
With the fifth pick. It's about 2 weeks.
And the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jamar Chase, and then we have to wait like another couple picks before we find out how the hell to pronounce Penei Sewell. We could hit the music as we close this out, but again, this is how I would rate them. I want to know how you guys would rate them. The three prospects, the Bengals are going to end up with one of these three. They're going to end up with Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts. Of those three, how would you rank them from can't miss to could do without? And all three are super talented, by the way. I'm not saying Jamar Chase is a bum. People are thinking that I'm saying he's no good. I'm not saying he's no good. I'm just saying that all three of these are extremely talented guys, but you have to prioritize your needs. It's not, you need all these guys. You need a tight end, you need a wide receiver, but you need an offensive lineman first. That is there's no doubt about it. So to the Facebook feed we go. We'll read a couple of these and then we'll get back to more of your responses on the other side. Where the heck are we with this? This is going all over the place. Matt Sturgeon, he says Sewell, Chase, then Pitts. So he has Chase ahead of Pitts. Why Chase in front of Pitts, Matt? I'm just curious, because Chase really good, but Pitts just seems like, everything we're hearing is Chase could be the best at his position very, very soon, to where Chase would just be one of many good wide receivers in the league. And I feel like you could get one of the Bengals have always found ways to get receivers, so it's not like they have to be desperate to get a wide receiver right here. That's all.
I worry about Pitts in the blocking game. I know you can help those guys out, and flex them out and everything like that. But he is a tweener. He's really not a tight end. He's really not a wide receiver. He's kind of a tweener. So I do worry about that. I know people are projecting him to, be, Travis Kelce and everything like that. Well, he's got a lot of weight to put on, because Travis Kelce is a big dude. Like, Kyle Pitts really just looks like a wide receiver to me.
He could end up just being a wide receiver.
Right.
He might be moved over to just being a receiver, right, or being able to be. He could be used in multiple.
He looks like T.O.
Oh my God, he's so freaking huge.
That's a compliment. But we never said, all right, T.O., go line up in the 3-point stance and block. You know what I'm saying? So I just worry about that. Is them forcing him to try to play tight end and block, defensive ends. I worry about that.
Well, his scouting report is that he's not a good blocker.
Right.
So teams are still enamored by him, even with his inability to block. But, look, as a Browns fan, I know how important it is to have a tight end who can block. Everyone had criticized the Browns for when you overpaid for Hooper. He's not one of the best catching tight ends out there, even though his numbers back that up. But, he's not one of the top catching tight ends. They gave him as much money as they did is because they basically signed an extra offensive line.
Right.
He's the best blocking tight end in football. Is he the best playmaker at tight end? He's top 5, but I don't think that, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm fine with it. I just think that you would like him to be able to block. Where did McKinney go? McKinney says, I don't care. Again, we're ranking Sewell, Chase, and Pitts. How would you rank them as far as urgency of who you want your team to take? Which one of these guys should not even be in the conversation? I like Chase. I just don't think he should be in the conversation for the Bengals, because I think that right now Sewell is the number one way to go. Daryl McKinney, the SEC commissioner, he goes, I don't care who they draft, as long as they keep my QB's jersey clean and pancake someone not paying attention. So there is that. Going down. Matt Sturgeon, he says we run 85% 3 wide receiver sets. Yes, but offensive linemen are on the field 100% of the time. So there's that. I really wish I made that up. I stole that off of someone's comeback on Twitter the other day, and I was really impressed with it. I should have just sold it as if it was mine, but Kev knew I was full of it, and he laughed. So I'm like, yeah, he knew I stole that. But no, I saw somebody the other day tweet that out. Like, man, we run 85% of the sets that Zach Taylor runs are 3 receiver sets. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but you have to have an offensive line on the field 100% of the time. So to me, it's like, okay, what position is on the field more than the other? I need Sewell. But no, Matt, I get your point. Trust me. But again, there's talented wide receivers out there, and you can't say there's talented offensive linemen out there, but we've been saying that for the last 5 years, and I'm past the point of trusting them being able to do that. Okay, let's step away for a few moments. You're listening to the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. We will chat with former MVP quarterback Ken Anderson, Bengals legend. I'm excited to chat with him coming up at 4 o'clock. He'll join Kev and I, and we'll ask him a ton about this upcoming draft. Doug Sphere, he makes a good point. He goes, Ken Anderson was good. Ask him about how Munoz Montoya made him great. He always had solid receivers, but the O-line made the difference. And that's one reason I'm super jacked to be able to talk with him coming up in just under an hour. We'll be back in a moment. 457-9464. That's the number to call in. We'll take your calls when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 55. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low around 36. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
30% of ID theft victims suffered multiple types of identity theft. Get LifeLock. Save up to 25% off your first year at LifeLock.com, promo code RISK.
The Wendy's restaurant in your area has issued a major bag alert.
Major bag alert.
The bacon double stack is back in the biggie bag with fries, nugs, and a drink, all for just $5. The following are to be expected: joy, disbelief, inability to think about anything else. This deal is effective immediately, and it's only at Wendy's.
Major bag alert. Bag alert. Major
Biggie bag includes 4-piece nuggets, small fry, and small drinks. U.S. price and participation may vary.
Receive a $5 rebate by trading up any non-contact thermometer toward an Exergen temporal scanner purchased at any retailer. With COVID continuing to spread, nothing matters more than having an accurate thermometer that's backed by more than 80 published peer-reviewed clinical studies, like the Exergen temporal scanner. Even after getting the COVID vaccine, you should be monitoring for fever to make sure you are protected. Keep your family and yourself safe by trading up your non-contact thermometer for an accurate temporal scanner and a $5 rebate from Exergen, where accuracy matters. Details at Exergen.com.
Hi, my name is Brian Sommers, and I'm an attorney with Kirkland and Sommers. We are a law firm dedicated to divorce and family law. We have 2 locations serving Miami Valley, one near Austin Landing and the other in Troy. Remember, we're not part-time divorce and family lawyers. We're full-time here for you.
Kirkland and Sommers, trusted and experienced, a family law practice dedicated to serving you. Visit them online at kirklandandsommers.com. That's Sommers with an O, kirklandandsommers.com.
Your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits is also the home for value. Frickers Everyday Value begins on Monday with boneless frickin' chicken wings, 69 cents each. Tuesday offers traditional frickin' chicken wings, 69 cents each. On Wednesday, enjoy a steak dinner for $6.99. And Thursday, frickin' chicken chunks for $6.99. Download the Frickers mobile app to receive loyalty points, free food, and order online. Today and every day, the home for everyday values is the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Hi, Pete Kasuji here to tell you it's time to start thinking green. Get out those shovels and rakes and take advantage of every sunny day this month so you don't have to play catch up next month. Get started on that landscape project you've been thinking about all winter. Plant a tree or a hedge, a flowering shrub, or maybe a few evergreens and ornamental grass around the porch or deck. It's also time to sow our famous green mat grass seed for a lush green lawn this summer. Sow that grass seed now and you'll be mowing by the middle of May. We've got everything you need for a great-looking yard or patio at our 6-acre garden center at 1309 Brant Pike. Come out and see why they call them greenhouses.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
It's time for some straight talk. Sure, saving money feels good, but cutting your wireless bill in half, that feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the 9th inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you can pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven.
Save up to $300 on top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's at Mattress Firm right now. And you can get a free adjustable base when you spend $6.99 or more. Shop now.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. Excited to be hanging out with you here on a Thursday. We're about 2 weeks out of the draft. Actually, 2 weeks from today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 weeks from today, NFL draft. And didn't even mean to open up talking about the Bengals positioning in the draft, but with Ken Anderson coming on here in about a half hour, that's kind of where the conversation went. But Kev asked a good question before we went to break about, when you look at the three prospects that the Bengals are in position to get, and really, with so many quarterbacks going potentially in the top four. I mean, I know the Falcons are, trying to act as if they're not interested, but like they literally sent their head coach, their quarterbacks coach, their wide receivers coach. They sent everybody to Justin Fields' pro day yesterday. So one of two, that could be a couple things. That could be, man, we're really interested in him. We're going to take him. What's that, Patriots? Oh, you really want him? Okay, well, what are you going to give us? It could be that.
Yeah.
Or it could be that they really are considering taking either Trey Lance or Justin Fields. But I think everyone is making sure that they do their homework on Justin Fields. Bottom line is, the pro day yesterday was ridiculous for Fields. He should have never had to have redone that. Mac Jones should redo his, considering he couldn't even hit wide open targets without defense in his face. Anyways, we've discussed that in the past. I feel that pro day yesterday was the most important pro day in the history of pro days, because Justin Fields had to go out to defend himself, to defend his name. And that's why I didn't like that pro day yesterday. I was uncomfortable watching that pro day, because what did we really learn from that? Did that pro day, this isn't against Fields, I'm not bashing Fields, but what did any skeptics out there of him? Did you really learn anything from the second pro day that you could have learned in the first? And did you even learn or not learn something in the first one that you already don't? You know what he could do. He could play in big game situations. I know the national champion Fields didn't get beat in the championship game. Ohio State got beat in the national championship game. So I'm not a big, sometimes we get too, generic with that. But man, I just thought yesterday watching that kid was ridiculous. I was uncomfortable every time I saw a highlight. I'm like, this is just him trying to clear his name that should have never been destroyed to begin with. So that's why I'm frustrated, unless there really is something wrong that we don't know. Because here's what I made a mistake of a few years ago. I was adamant Dwayne Haskins needed to be the number one quarterback taken off the board that year. Daniel Jones goes to the Giants at number 6. I was like, it's the stupidest decision I've ever seen a team make. The Giants, they're so dumb. Team after team. I remember the Bengals passed on Dwayne Haskins. Shocker. Bengals, they're so dumb. I can't believe they do this. And they've clearly made the right decision not to take Haskins. But at that time, everything that we as Buckeye fans are saying to defend Justin Fields, we said about Dwayne Haskins. And I said earlier, I'm not a draft aficionado in regards to, I mean, I love talking about the draft, but I'm watching Justin Fields pro day yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to take of that. I mean, of course he looks good, but he looked good on the field. He had a couple bad games. So what? I'm being a little, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit in regards to Fields, of me getting defensive of, oh, he should be the second quarterback taken off the board. I do think it's crap that he has to have these pro days to clear his name, because it's the only reason he's doing this. But I also want to be a little cautious, because I'm like, I remember being super defensive of Dwayne Haskins as well, as did every Buckeye fan out there. Every Buckeye blogger side out there was, man, the league is so stupid for passing up on Haskins. And it doesn't look like anybody made. The only team that made a mistake was the teams that passed up on him didn't make a mistake. The team that drafted him made the mistake, potentially. So I'm going to be a little hesitant on saying that these teams are dumb for passing on Justin Fields, because maybe they're seeing something that we didn't see with Haskins when we were blindly defending him. And I say blindly because honestly, we're all big football fans, but we really, really don't know what we're looking at in regards to how an NFL team would look. I've never played professional football, so I don't know what I'm looking at from versus the eyes of an NFL front office owner. Doesn't mean that they always make the right decisions, but there's enough front office decision makers who are seeing something that they don't like. So although I'm frustrated that Fields had to defend his name yesterday, there has to be a little bit of something there, right? Mainly because Urban Meyer's come out and talked about how good a player Justin Fields is, but like, Urban Meyer hasn't once come out and said, man, it's a tough choice between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Even though we all believe it's 1A and 1B, if it was really 1A and 1B, Urban Meyer would be more, he would be speaking more on this whole, man, I don't know who we're going to pick. They're both great quarterbacks. It's really, all this. We haven't heard that. It's just been Trevor Lawrence. Urban Meyer, Buckeye legend, hasn't even tried to play his Buckeye fandom card here. He's left it alone. So there is that I look at as well, where I'm defending Justin Fields, but at the same time, I'm also kind of rewinding back to that Dwayne Haskins draft when we all swore, how could Dwayne Haskins drop? How could you take Daniel Jones from Duke over big bad Power 5 Buckeye team? How could you pick him over over Dwayne Haskins? And then we all found out why. And we don't even know if Daniel Jones is going to work or not. This is his make or break year like Baker's was last year. But I don't know. I don't know what to kind of think of this Justin Fields thing. I like to always try to have an opinion without blinders on. But I can't tell how I'm supposed to handle this, because a couple years ago, Dwayne Haskins, I thought everyone was dumb that passed up on him. Now they look like they made the right decision.
For me, I was always under the impression that this second pro day from Justin Fields and Mac Jones had 2 pro days already. I was always under the impression that they're having these extra pro days because they can't travel and go to these teams and have private workouts.
But I think he's the only one that's had more than one.
I know Mac Jones, Alabama, they've had 2 pro days, and Mac Jones has participated in 2 pro days.
Okay, so I'm wrong on that. But I mean, those felt like that was done just for him, though.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right, but I was just under the impression because you can't go to visit these teams and then have them work you out privately and do the things that they want you to do, because that's where I think teams really get to know what you can do, like on the fly, and like, because we talked about, like, if you have a pro day, man, you've been practicing this script for months. You're going to play good. You know what I'm saying? You could take the mid-tier quarterback in whatever conference and say, hey, man, we're going to have a pro day, and give them a month to practice. They're going to look like they should be the first pick too, because these dudes are supreme athletes. No matter how they play in the game, in a pro day, when they're throwing the air, they're going to look perfectly fine. So I think that what people want to see is the ball come off his hands. They want to interview him. They want to talk to him. They want to get to know him as best they can in a COVID year, because in a non-COVID year, you get the draft combine 15 minutes with each team. And then you get invitations to come talk to the coaches in private meetings, and you get flown out to the facility, man. You get to wine and dine the quarterback or whatever prospect they want to, and get to work them out, have your doctors look at them, all the checks and balances. Without that, they have nothing. All they have is these pro days to go off of, and obviously their game film. So like, I get what you're saying with, it felt weird, because I think it feels weird because obviously we're Buckeye fans, but it just seems like he's the mark. He's the guy that they're saying, like, all right, where it's time to nitpick somebody, and that somebody is going to be you, because you can look at all these quarterback prospects and say, well, I don't like this about them. Like, you could say, all right, man, Trevor Lawrence, we remember your sophomore year when you were interception happy for the first 5 games of the season. Oh, Trevor Lawrence, well, you got blew out in the national championship game to LSU and Joe Burrow. Oh, you got blew out by Ohio State and Justin Fields. Like, you could do that. Somebody could do that. Somebody could say, oh, man, Mac Jones, you're throwing the butt naked wide open receivers. Mac Jones. Oh, Mac Jones, you had 2 DUIs where you're in college. Like, we can play this game with all these prospects. You could say, all right, man, Zach Wilson, man, the competition level you guys play was trash because the year before, when you actually played a real schedule, you weren't a prospect, but now that you play these lower level competition, you're a baller. Oh, Trey Lance, you've only played 17 games in your college career. Like, we can play this game with anybody. It just seems like Justin Fields, it was eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You're the mark. You're the guy we're going to pick on.
Yeah, and that's what I found. So, and I guess it would make sense to have more than one pro day. I was under the impression that Fields had this extra pro day just to try to, prove more doubters wrong. But
right.
And that would make sense because, for instance, on the day of Justin Fields' first pro day, Alabama's was going on as well.
Right.
San Francisco, the Niners, their coach was in attendance for Justin Fields yesterday. They were not in attendance. Excuse me. They were not in attendance for his first pro day. So I guess there's that. I guess the perception was of the setup of the second pro day was done so because, hey, I need to get out there and continue working for these teams to prove them wrong. And I don't like that feeling or perception of I got to do this again because I got to prove them that I don't have all these flaws that they say, which is it's a weird game to play because I don't know how you put to bed any of those concerns when there's really nothing I feel like you could learn from that.
Right, because I don't remember hearing anything about Baron Browning running another 40 or Pete Warner being out there hitting the bench press anymore. It was really all about Justin Fields and his pro day as opposed to the Ohio State pro day that it was a couple weeks ago.
Matthew Hedrick on YouTube, I'm sorry. He says differences, and again, I think this is in response to when I said I'm going to be a little bit more cautious of just totally I try to take my Ohio State blinder off when it comes to Justin Fields because I'm like, okay, am I being a homer when I say he's definitely the second best quarterback? I mean, if Justin Fields played at Georgia, we wouldn't be as passionate about Justin Fields dropping in the draft than what we are right now.
Once a bulldog, always a bulldog.
So unless you're no, that's about right. No, but seriously, we're passionate about Justin Fields. He's clearly the second best quarterback in the draft. If he was a Georgia quarterback, this same thing same thing unfolded the way it has, would we be saying the same thing? I do not think we would. And I learned with Dwayne Haskins, who I was adamant should have been the first quarterback taken off the board, that he's just because the quarterback class was weak doesn't mean that he's weak. It just means and I defended him, and then he ended up being, I can't tell you the last time a quarterback taken that high didn't even make it through his entire, not just didn't make it, but didn't even make it through the contract before being cut and on the second team.
You remember this. We talked about this back when Haskins was getting drafted. I was worried about him and his work ethic and not anything that we saw on the field because everything that we saw on the field was magnificent. But I was always concerned about his weight. And I remember over the summer when, we were checking out his Instagram and everything like that, and he had his little before and after pictures, and he was chiseled going into last season.
Oh, absolutely.
And we both were like, oh man, looks like he's really dialed in. He's got his weight together. It looked like he got almost like a little 6-pack going and everything like that. And that's a sign to me that says somebody is bought in. But prior to that, shouldn't you already been bought in before? You got Coach McMariotti at Ohio State, one of the best in the business, and you're having your biggest interviews of your life going into the NFL draft. Shouldn't you already look like that, in the process of going to the NFL, not playing an entire season kind of chubby and then coming into your second season looking like you're in shape? So those are the things that I worried about with Dwayne Haskins, like him just basically going out there and saying, I'm going to play off my talent as opposed to putting in, the work ethic outside of the field. We see this with Tom Brady with the vegan ice cream and avocado ice cream versus, Ben Roethlisberger, who's a fat bleep all 365 a year. And, his talent allows him to still play competitive football. Everything I'm reading about Big Ben, he's changing his diet. And of course, as a fan, yeah, that's great. But dude, you're 38, changing your diet now, that's not going to extend your career too much longer. If you'd have did that when you were 30, maybe it would have worked. But now I think it's kind of too late. But for Fields, I never saw that. I never saw the parallels between him and Dwayne Haskins. Like, one, they don't play football any way alike. Like, it is, you look at Dwayne Haskins and it's almost a la Dan Marino. It's a traditional drop back passing quarterback. And then you look at, Justin Fields, and he's a modern quarterback who can use his athleticism, not only in scrambling, but on the edge. He reminds me, if I had to pick somebody, like a John Elway, who's extremely athletic and extremely mobile inside the pocket and outside the pocket, but has a strong enough arm to make all the throws as well. So I don't view them dudes at all. And I mean, if you look at Justin Fields, like if you look at his physique, like he looks in shape. Like Dwayne Haskins, if you go look at pictures of him when he was at Ohio State, he did not look like he was in great shape. He looked pudgy and chubby. So those are the things like.
And so is Mac Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. Beard curls. And I mean, if you go look at Mac Jones, like him as a freshman, like they had like the little evolution chart going on. It looked like he'd been doing 40 curls, but he's hitting butt naked wide open receivers. So I guess that'll get you drafted in the top 3.
So Matthew Hedrick on YouTube says this. And I don't know about this. Difference is that Ryan Day told teams about Haskins' flaws and how all he cared about was himself. First of all, I can't say this. There's no way in hell that was the case. Matthew, I elaborate on that. Because there's no way. For one, if Ryan Day actually put it, this is why I mocked this a few weeks ago when people were like, man, I talked to my source at Ohio State and they said Justin Fields is great. Well, you could consider the sort, and I'm not saying that Justin Fields wasn't. I'm saying is I'm not going to go to Ohio State to ask those questions. No one there is going to tell you that he's bad because no, for one, if you are a school that tells NFL scouts that your player is no good, no one's coming to Ohio State.
Right.
Ohio State is an NFL factory. And if NFL level players are at Ohio State or are about considering Ohio State and they find out that Ryan Day is telling scouts, oh, no, he's trash. Oh, no, he has no work ethic. Oh, no, he's no good. Which, by the way, I don't know what the right answer there is. I mean, should they be honest about their players? I don't know. Matthew, where did you see that? Because I don't believe that Ryan Day would say that all he cares about is himself. Unlike Fields, who Day has been giving everyone raving reviews about, Ryan Day, everyone at Ohio State was giving Dwayne Haskins raving reviews after that year. He was a Heisman finalist. There was no bad talk about him at all outside of just kind of looking at his physique, I guess. I didn't see, there was no reports out of Ohio State that he was not going to be a good player. It was everything we heard about Fields is what we heard about Haskins years ago. That's why I'm being a little hesitant on guaranteeing that he's the second best quarterback in this draft. I think just because he was the biggest name at the biggest school besides Trevor Lawrence of all the quarterbacks that are about to go right now. So I don't know. I don't remember that. Did you remember that?
I don't remember hearing anything like that come from Coach Day about Dwayne Haskins. What I do remember about his whole process throughout the draft process with Dwayne Haskins was the offense being a little too easy. It relying on the amount of playmakers that Ohio State had on offense, because believe it or not, and I know it's going to sound crazy, but that Dwayne Haskins offense had far more playmakers than the offense that Justin Fields played with, especially last year. Last year, they were running a bunch of 2 receiver sets. It was Olave and Garrett Wilson majority of the time. They didn't spread the field out like they were doing with Dwayne Haskins. And it was really that Michigan game where Michigan just loved to play man-to-man defense, and they were running man beaters the entire game. And when you have the athletes the caliber of Ohio State, you run man beaters, they're going to score. So I think like a lot of the talk was like, man, some of those stats are inflated from like, the pop passes they were doing to Paris Campbell and everything like that, the drag routes to Chris Olave on the man beaters and, not pushing the ball downfield. I do remember that conversation, but I don't remember a lot of conversation about, Coach Day downing Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. So Matthew says this. He says, we'll get to the calls in a moment, Kev. He says, ask Buckeye insiders. Day was telling, look, the Buckeye insiders are the biggest homers out there. Like, they're the ones that were, I remember I have specific names of between Letterman Row, between Bucknuts, and there's nothing wrong with these. I'm not saying anything wrong about these writers. I'm just saying I have screenshots of these tweets saying how dumb these NFL teams are for passing on Haskins. Now everyone wants to come out and say, well, I knew he was going to be bum. I knew he wasn't going to be good. I knew. No, you didn't know, because we're doing the same thing with Fields, and we still don't know now. But Matthew says, ask Buckeye insiders. Day was telling teams the truth about Haskins, and that is why he was slipping in the draft. He says that Ron Rivera even confirmed it in his interview the other day. Ron Rivera, I don't know. I feel like that would have been a headline.
I do remember conversations.
Rivera wasn't the head coach.
Right. I'm saying I remember conversations about Dwayne Haskins having maturity issues, quote unquote, or whatever. But I don't ever remember those coming from Coach Day. Now, could Coach Day have said it? Could someone on the Ohio State staff said it to other scouts? Absolutely, they could have. But that is a sticky slope when you make accusations like that, unless it's in print. Like and you say sources and everything like that. Like, I just don't know. Like, I do remember that was like the talk on ESPN and the NFL Network. Those guys definitely said it, but I don't know. And it came from the Ohio State University, them saying about their own guy.
And by the way, with Rivera, to be fair, Rivera still could have spoke to him when he was the head coach of the Panthers at the time. It could have been during that draft process as far as that goes. All right, good stuff, guys. I appreciate everyone chiming in on this. We'll get to more of these reactions when we come back. 457-9464. Josh Nichols, shout out to him. He's jumped in on the YouTube feed. He said, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash on YouTube. He said all that YouTube TV promotions paid off. So there's that. Philip Lassiter says the pro day took the place of an individual team workout since the NFL is not allowing individual workouts this draft cycle, and there was no combine. I mean, they're trying to be as flexible as can be here with this. That's the other reason that some teams are mad about the NFL not allowing these not mandatory workouts, the voluntary workouts, saying it's not safe to have voluntary workouts, but it's safe for these NFL scouts to go sit in these college campuses and in these tight rooms and watch all these college kids work out. So I do find that interesting. Brian Coleman says, stop respecting Mac Jones. He will be the best quarterback in the draft. I forgot he was throwing to wide open receivers. And then Bama Brian coming in clutch, saying actually he was throwing to wide open receivers in that NFL draft. So there's that.
Butt naked.
All right. And I know there was one more. Hold up. Got to make sure we get to many of these as we can. I tell you what. I lost it. We'll get to more of these Facebook and YouTube reactions when we come back. We got Ken Anderson, former Bengals MVP quarterback, coming up here 14 minutes from now, top of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll chat with him. If he was the quarterback today, if he was Joe Burrow, and Mike Brown came to him and said, all right, we're going to draft whoever you say, who would Ken Anderson select at number 5? We're going to chat about that with him coming up at 4. Plus, we'll talk about the newly announced Ring of Honor, and he could potentially be one of the first 4 names announced for that. We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Hi, I'm calling to schedule a shipment.
Indeed knows unexpected employee turnover can turn your business upside down.
Last pickup is at 7? Team, we gotta hustle.
Like at Sumita's online chai company, to avoid back orders, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting, serving this area's tax and accounting needs for over 80 years. If you have concerns about your tax return, we invite you to discover how we can make your tax filing experience easier. If you had a difficult experience in the past, our professional staff can provide the accurate return you want with maximum use of all legitimate deductions. Laird's Tax and Accounting is a trusted name and stands behind your return if the IRS calls. Contact us at 937-325-6571. Information at Laird'sTax.com.
Waiting for spring is one thing. Waiting for spring savings is another. At the Home Depot, you don't have to wait for either one. Our best prices of the season are here now. In-store, online, store-wide. Get a 40-volt battery-powered Ryobi string trimmer for just $159. And more savings on everything, from fresh paint to power blowers. You've waited long enough. Bring on spring. The Spring Savings Event, now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Valid through April 18th while supplies last.
It's time for some straight talk. Sure, saving money feels good, but cutting your wireless bill in half, that feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the 9th inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you can pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Dutch Boy's new Platinum Plus paint with Stain Shield technology has the performance you expect from a luxury paint at a price you didn't. Platinum Plus is up to 50% more washable and stain resistant than a leading premium paint in satin sheen. Superiority ranges from 24 to 50% depending on sheen selected. Platinum Plus keeps your walls looking new longer. Menards and Dutch Boy paint have you covered. Go ahead, live your life.
Right now at Menards, get 11% off everything, including Dutch Boy paint.
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Are you looking for a quick and delicious home-style meal your entire family will love? At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with a 10-piece breast strip meal for only $19.99. Feed your family famously with 10 all-white meat breast strips cooked golden brown to perfection with 2 large sides and 5 fluffy biscuits. This home-style family meal is what cravings are made of. Get a home-style meal made easy with our 10-piece breast strip meal for only $19.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Contact 811 at least 48 hours before you dig, and Ohio811.org will notify the utilities to mark underground lines near your projects. It's the law. More info at Ohio811.org.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash, hanging out with you here on a Thursday. Found an article from ESPN, Ryan Day, his quotes the day that Dwayne Haskins was released from the Washington football team. He goes on, I know him. He's resilient. He was a champion when he was in here, and he's still a champion now. He's strong. He's going to work through this. All great. And this is through 24/7 Sports. So I believe that's a Bucknuts affiliation, correct? All great quarterbacks have gone through adversity, and he's great. That doesn't change that. He really didn't face a ton of adversity when he was here, other than being patient behind JT Barrett. And he won the job and then went on to the NFL, nearly won a Heisman. That champion still exists inside. So, no, I'm not saying that. I think it was Matthew. Who was it on the comments in here? Matthew Hedrick. I'm not saying you are wrong, Matthew. I'm just saying, like, I just think a lot of times with this, like, there's a lot of double talk that goes out there. I just have a hard time believing that even if that was true, I just don't think that when you are a school like Ohio State, a program like Ohio State, Ryan Day, I just don't buy in that he would say those things about in a negative light of him, mainly because you can't do that, because future recruits are going to look at that and say, well, this dude's supposed to put me in the best position possible to succeed. I'm not going to go there if he's going to be bad-mouthing his players, even though Ryan Day is probably doing the honest thing, because Ryan Day's in a spot where, well, I can't burn bridges with my guys in the NFL and tell these teams that, oh, man, this kid's great, knowing that he's not. So I'm not saying I don't believe you, Matthew. I'm just saying it's tough for me to see how coaches approach this, because as a coach, if you know you have a player that is being looked at and he has flaws that aren't being talked about by anybody, do you start that conversation by saying, yeah, but you got to look out for X, Y, and Z? And it's kind of like when you sell a car. You know, if I sell you this car and I don't tell you about all the problems with it, I just tell you how cool the paint job is. And then you get home and find out, oh, man, he didn't tell me about this, this, and this. You're never going to trust that buyer again.
Right.
So can it be this, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. If you're honest, future players don't like you. And then the teams like you. But then if you aren't completely honest and just say, hey, this kid's great. He has no flaws. He's perfect. He's Jesus reincarnated as a football player. Then those teams are going to be like, well, remember last time you told me Dwayne Haskins was perfect and he wasn't. And how did that work out? I don't know how coaches handle that. I think I've never thought of it. That's such a tough spot if you're a coach on how you sell your player.
You know, you and I are fortunate enough to be in management positions here at the radio station. So it's the same way that you and I would handle it if we had to do a reference for, you know, people that quote unquote work under us. You know, if an employee that we had is a little sketchy, we're not about to be talking to their potential future employer and be like, yeah, man, he was late for a remote this one time, and this other time, man, he showed up super late for a board op and event, and you know, we weren't on the air for 20 minutes, dead air, man, crazy. But yeah, you should hire him. We're gonna twist it in a way. We're still gonna tell him, like, you know, he's young and we had some immaturity issues early on, but you know, once we got him in our program and doing what we do, he got up to speed. It's the same thing.
But it's not, because we could do that and we won't wake up the next day and the newspaper says, man, Kinner and Kev bash board op and keep him from getting a job.
But those
like,
conversations are supposed to go. Those conversations are supposed to be directly between, you know, Coach Day and, you know, the GM or scout or whatever that they're talking to. Those ain't going to be shouldn't be reported to Adam Schefter or everything.
But we do know that they are, and like, but even if they're not, so. But if Ryan Day, it doesn't have to get out though. Ryan Day could be on, like. But if he's honest with these scouts, but that's what's going on here, though. What if Ryan Day to the media is like, Justin Fields is great, he's great. We can't figure out why he's dropping. But these sources that Ryan Day is talking to, they're not coming out and saying, well, Ryan Day's the one that told me he has work ethic issues. Ryan Day's the one that said he's the first to leave and the last to get to practice. So you see what I mean by this? So if Ryan Day is doing that and being honest with these scouts and telling them, here's my concerns, but this can't go out publicly, maybe it's that. And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just trying to figure out, this is a very tough spot for these coaches to be in, because, of course, you want to sell your program. And you can't sell your program if you're saying, oh, yeah, this kid has work ethic issues, this, and this, because that's going to get out publicly. But if he is talking behind closed doors with these scouts, and then they're hearing that, and then when they go to guys like Dan Orlovsky and saying, hey, I'm hearing this, and this, well, who said that? I can't tell you. I literally can't tell you because it's the coach. Then that's a bad thing that can happen. Or if he tells you everything's great, and they don't tell everyone who told him that. I'm just hearing he's great. And then he ends up being a bust. Now those scouts are like, well, damn, Ryan Day tells me every one of his players are great and they never work out and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm not even accusing Ryan Day of doing that. But you can see a scenario where that could be the issue here. What if it is the coaches who are being honest behind closed doors? But Ryan Day would, but that's why, man, Ryan Day on the mic the other day said that Justin Fields is the hardest worker ever. Well, again, that's not news to me. Now, if Ryan Day cracked the mic and said he's the laziest quarterback he's ever coached, that's news to me. That's why I hate when people come out, man, coach had high praise for him. Of course he did. He recruited him. He played well for him. Like what, so that's all. I think it's a tough spot for coaches to be
It's
in.
definitely a tough spot.
So no. If people are saying, so you're saying Ryan Day is the anonymous source. No, I'm not. But from what you're saying, you're right. Like, I don't know how this is handled with coaches. How much truth do you put into these? You have to
put some type of truth in there. If a kid isn't a hard work, you have to put that out there because, it's not only the kid's reputation, but it's also your own reputation on the line as well. That's why I alluded to how we do with, employees that work with us.
Yep.
And Ohio State is definitely in a unique position because not too many programs out there that their head coach is the play caller and the quarterback coach. So, a lot of these programs don't have the head coach having that super tight bond with the quarterback in the quarterback room every day like they do at Ohio State. Because before, under Urban Meyer was more of an overseer of the entire program. Yes, Coach Day is still an overseer, but Coach Day is in there drawing up plays. He's in there working one-on-one with the QBs. He's having meetings with the QBs. So he definitely has a unique insight to how his young quarterbacks play, how they think, how they work on the board and everything like that. I really can only think of him and Jimbo like that I can think of off the top of my head are who are the quarterback coach, the play caller, and the head coach in college football. If anybody knows anybody else, let me know, because even Jim Harbaugh, a quarterback by trade, a quarterback in the NFL, he's not the quarterback coach for the guys up in Michigan. Maybe he should be though, right?
I mean, I've always said that about,
like, he had Pep Anderson. I'm sorry, Pep. I forget his name, but wasn't he like a running back? Like, wouldn't you want Jim Harbaugh being your quarterback coach?
Well, that's why I always say, if you have a really good offensive coordinator, why would you take him out of that role to make him your head coach and then have to? So basically, say he's the best offensive coordinator in football, but then you make him the head coach, and then you got to find a new offensive coordinator. I don't know. Hey, tell you what, we'll step away for a few moments. Last week, it was announced that the Cincinnati Bengals were going to do a Ring of Honor, and if we know that Paul Brown and Anthony Munoz are the first two names selected to the Bengals Ring of Honor, and then the season ticket holders get to vote on the next two, and the names that we've heard a lot of, and the names they should be Ken Riley, Ken Anderson. Ken Anderson will join us next, former Bengals MVP quarterback, Bengals legend. We'll chat with him about this upcoming Ring of Honor and the upcoming NFL draft 2 weeks from tonight. We'll be joined by Ken Anderson when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Procter & Gamble, the company behind some of your favorite brands like Tide, Charmin, and Pampers, is now hiring warehouse associates and forklift drivers at the Dayton Distribution Center. Come visit us on Tuesday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 1414 South Patterson Boulevard at the Marriott at the University of Dayton to learn more about these great opportunities. Ready to jumpstart your career by gaining new skills or looking for great benefits and competitive pay on day one? Then go to pgcareers.com. Search for Dayton and apply today. Procter & Gamble is an equal opportunity employer.
Waiting for spring is one thing. Waiting for spring savings is another. At the Home Depot, you don't have to wait for either one. Our best prices of the season are here now. In-store, online, store-wide. Get a 40-volt battery-powered Ryobi string trimmer for just $159. And more savings on everything, from fresh paint to power blowers. You've waited long enough. Bring on spring. The Spring Savings Event, now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Valid through April 18th while supplies last.
What's in store this week at Staples?
A big deal on ink. That's kind of a big deal.
Staples has the technology, furniture, and supplies you need for a totally productive workspace.
And right now, you can earn 40% back in Staples rewards when you purchase any 2 ink or toner cartridges.
Shop in-store or get same-day delivery powered by Instacart.
Ends 4/17/21. Limit 4 in-store and on Instacart only. Visit staplesconnect.com/ink rewards for details. Instacart delivery subject to availability. Additional fees may apply.
Hi, I'm Miss America 2020, asking you to join me in support of the DEA's Take Back Day, Saturday, April 24th. Visit DEATakeback.com.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know. Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me, and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume, and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's live, it's local, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. We are live here on a Thursday, ESPN Dayton 1410 Wing AM. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. Let's switch gears back to some NFL talk. I'm excited to bring on our next guest, Bengals legend, former NFL MVP. We have Ken Anderson hanging out with us this afternoon. Mr. Anderson, welcome in. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's get to the important stuff first. No, not the draft, not the Ring of Honor. You golfed today, so how did that treat you?
It went very well today. We have our two-man match play tournament going on. So my partner and I, we won 2-1 today, and I settled to 74.
Oh, well, you're not bragging or anything, though, so that's good. I mean,
well, you asked me how I did. It went well today.
I'm sure I can get a 73 is what I shoot in 9, so I'd say that's a pretty good day at the office for you. So there you go. But we're excited to be hanging out with you today. A lot of news, coming out of Bengals camp right now. Everyone's gearing up and getting excited for the draft here in 2 weeks. But I want to talk about the Ring of Honor. That was a really special announcement last week made by the Cincinnati Bengals, and of course Paul Brown and Anthony Munoz, the two initial names of the first Ring of Honor class. And then you get the season ticket holders who get to vote on the next two. You're it for me. I'm not just saying that because you're on the phone with us right now, but yourself and Ken Riley are the two I would vote on. But just overall, your initial thoughts when you heard that this was officially going to become a thing, the Bengals Ring of Honor.
Well, I'm glad they're doing it. And I think some people don't remember the great tradition we had back in the 70s and 80s. We were really a good football team. We had a lot of good players, and unfortunately, some of the recent past, people forget about our traditions. And so I'm glad that we can have this going and bring back some of the memories. And, I think back in those days that, I know in the mid-70s and the 80s, we were as good as any team in the National Football League.
You talk about the Ring of Honor honoring, the players of the past, but this is a great history lesson for all the new Bengals fans out there.
Well, yeah, you talk about Kenny Riley and, why he's not in the Hall of Fame, I don't know. I think he stands fourth on the all-time list for number of interceptions. The three guys in front of him are already in. He played in an era where we only played 14 games. For most of his career, if you look back, quarterbacks are only throwing the ball 20, 22 times a game, so we never had that many opportunities. And to come up with that amount of interceptions is just remarkable.
Ken, now with that being said, it's interesting because there's so many great players to choose from the past, and even more modern players like Chad Johnson. And Chad Johnson's name gets brought up a lot. We had Jay Morrison on, covers the Bengals for The Athletic last week, and I said, it's going to be interesting who the two are that get voted in for the first class, because I would love to know what the average age of a season ticket holder is, because that could dictate who gets voted in for one of these first two. But where do you stand on when it comes to the Ring of Honor, the players being voted in? Every great player is going to get in at some point, but I said I want to see some of the older players get recognized finally after waiting for so long. No disrespect to Chad Johnson. I just wouldn't want to see Chad Johnson get in this first class over someone like yourself or a Ken Riley or an Isaac Curtis or whoever.
Well, however it works out, I'm just glad that they're having this. And I think it's kind of long overdue. And, when you think of the guys, back in that era, Mike Reed, had a short career, but gosh, I remember in 1972, I think it was, he was a defensive tackle, had 5 sacks in one game out in Kansas City. Who does that? When you look at Bob Johnson, the great career that he had, I always say that Bob Trumpy was Gronkowski before Gronkowski. He was one of the first tight ends that you could split out and run routes with, and he was a tremendous mismatch. Bill Berge, at a linebacker, Jim LeClaire. I mean, kind of the list goes on and on. Tommy Casanova, Lamar Parrish. I mean, we had a lot of really good players back in the 70s.
We got Ken Anderson with us, Bengals legend, former MVP, hanging out with us here today on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Let's rewind back to last season. There was so much hype and excitement. Joe Burrow just really just brought a breath of fresh air to the city of Cincinnati. There was excitement about the Bengals that we had not experienced in quite some time. Let's rewind to the day that he goes down with that season-ending injury. We were always worried about that, with that offensive line being the way it was set up. But I'm curious, do you remember the day that he went down, and what was your initial thought as you saw him laying on the field, and again, just his season coming to an end prematurely?
Well, he had been hit a lot already, in the season, and I am glad that his recovery's going well. I mean, I think this happened back in the 70s. His career is probably over, but I think he'll be ready to go next year. From what I hear, the rehab is going, extremely well, and I think the one encouraging thing that he played enough that, we know he's the real deal. In the NFL, you can't win without a quarterback, and the Bengals have one.
We have the NFL draft coming up in about 2 weeks. What are your thoughts about franchise quarterbacks having a voice in the draft selection process?
Well, I think, especially when you talk about the LSU receiver that he had, if they're considering him, then you maybe ask his opinion of it. But, the players, they don't study the players that are coming out. They don't watch the film. They don't watch the workouts. So, I just, you have to rely on your scouting department that they do a good job. And, unfortunately, lately, I don't know if we've hit on a lot of, our top draft choices.
Ken, let's say you're the quarterback of the Bengals today. You are in Joe Burrow's shoes. And with this draft coming up, I mean, from a quarterback's perspective, because I played Pee Wee football. I don't really get a real vote here, okay? And so none of us have played football at the level that you have. But you being a former quarterback, a former Bengals quarterback who played behind a great offensive line and had great weapons everywhere, I'm just curious your thoughts on if you are Joe Burrow today, which player do you find to be the most necessary for him moving forward? Not who he wants, but more who he needs. If it's between Jamar Chase, you talked about the former teammate of his out of LSU, Penei Sewell, the offensive lineman out of Oregon. There's Pitts, who could be a generational tight end talent. If you are Joe Burrow today and they come to you and say, Ken, we want you to make the selection at number 5, who are you taking at number 5 from a quarterback's perspective?
Well, I don't know. And again, I have not studied those. I know we signed a right tackle in free agency. We've got Jonah Williams, again, hurt again last year. We hope that he's the real deal as the first pick from a couple of years ago. I think we got to firm things up on the inside, but I think that's a little bit too early to take, guards and centers. So, I don't know. I think it's a balancing act. Do you go and take his receiver from LSU, and all of a sudden now you've got some tremendous weapons. When you talk about T. Higgins, who had a great year last year, and Boyd, and You got Joe Mixon in the backfield. I mean, I think we've got some weapons, but at some point you've got to address the offensive line.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Bengals fans are wanting that offensive line to be addressed. The problem is they have such a huge setup here because they get a choice of so many talented players. They're not going to go wrong with whoever they select big picture, but the immediate future, as you talked about, that being that offensive line. You as a quarterback, in your younger days, of course you want that offensive line, but Joe Burrow's probably thinking, man, I want the sexy picks. I want the playmakers. I want the pass catchers. I want Jamar Chase. I want Kyle Pitts. Is it easy for young quarterbacks to want more of the toys to play with versus the big guys protecting you up front?
Well, it's always nice to have weapons, but, I go back, I had a lot of success, at the beginning part of my career, and then all of a sudden, in 78 and 79, things did not go well. But then all of a sudden, it's amazing. Here comes Anthony Munoz, and we had a Max Montoya, and Blair Bush was a number one draft choice. The center, Lappa, was now a veteran. All of a sudden, the offensive line got good. My gosh, I got good again. You're still the same player, but you had a chance to do your job.
In the NFL, we talk about it being an offensive league, a passing league, but we saw that defense still wins championships with the Super Bowl and all the harassment that Patrick Mahomes was under by the Tampa Bay front line. And the Bengals have spent a lot of money the past 2 off seasons on defense. Do you think this defense has improved enough to make that jump to the playoffs?
Well, the amount of money they spent last year, you hope you get your money's worth with it. But and again, it goes, how good are your pass rushers? I think, you've got to be able to put pressure on the quarterback somehow. I think they're going in the right direction, and we'll see how it goes next year.
I know you still watch football, obviously, but how much of the league do you follow? Did you follow the AFC North as a whole? Do you pay attention to what other teams are doing outside of your former team? And which team in the AFC North do you look at and say that's the team we're chasing? It's easy to say the Steelers from a legacy standpoint, but the Browns have all of a sudden made a splash in free agency and through the draft the last couple of years. Who's that team in the AFC North that you say, hey, the Bengals need to chase? They need to get to their level. They need to get to where they're at.
Well, it looks now like it's Baltimore and Cleveland. What Baltimore's done the last several years, and Cleveland with Simon Clowney, I think their defense is really going to be, something else. But, it goes back, the division has been good for a lot of years. I remember, was it 75 maybe? That the Steelers won the division at 12-2. There was only one wild card in those days. We were the wild card at 11-3, and I think Cleveland and it was Houston in those days were both 10-4. Would have won most other divisions, but they were out of the playoff picture. So it's been historically good, and I think that's the challenge now is the Bengals have to rise up.
Yeah, my Browns were 3-11 that year, by the way. They were way at the bottom. The Oilers 10-4, as you talked about. Bengals 11-3, and there was Pittsburgh sitting at the top at 12-2. We got Ken Anderson with us. Ken, last thing before we let you go, we appreciate you hanging out with us here today. But the one thing I can't wait for, I'm a Browns fan. I love Baker Mayfield. I love what the Browns organization has done and putting them on the map the way they have. The other thing I'm pulling for is, and I get labeled as a Bengals hater, and that's fine, but what I cannot wait for is for when Joe Burrow and this Bengals team gets to that level where the Browns and the Bengals are battling it out every year for the AFC North. I'm tired of the Ravens. I'm tired of the Steelers. It's Ohio's time now, and I cannot wait for when this Bengals team finally puts everything together along with the Browns. You've played in a lot of big rivalry games, but can you imagine how big this rivalry would be? Baker versus Joe Burrow, Cincinnati versus Cleveland.
Well, it's 2 young quarterbacks, that have a long career ahead of them, and I think it would be good in a lot of aspects. And I think back to the days when, I played against, Cleveland, and the old Municipal Stadium was my favorite place in the league to play. It was the oldest stadium. It was the worst locker rooms, but it dripped with tradition. And, I love going up there. So I think that this has got the makings of another great rivalry for years to come.
Ken, send us out with this. Tell everyone about the Ken Anderson Alliance. I really love the work that you do and the work that this program does. I follow it closely. I have a brother with autism, and the work that you guys do for autism and for a lot of other issues outside of that is fascinating to me. Just tell everyone about the Ken Anderson Alliance.
Well, we're creating live, work, and engage opportunities for adults with developmental disabilities. And, excuse me, our Engage program, I think we have, about 23 or 24 outings a month that service, over 200 adults, whether it be going to a ball game when fans could go to games. It may be going to putt-putt. It may be going to an arcade, but just to get them out in groups out into the community. And that's very popular for us. We have different work opportunities that we have an aquaponics venture up on the west side that grows lettuce that we sell around town, which is a source of employment, real jobs and real wages for our adults. And I'm so excited about our community that we've purchased 23 acres out in Springfield Township. And the community is designed, it's laid out. We know what it's going to look like. We'll be able to house about 170 adults with our own community center there. We'll have another aquaponics venture with a cafe there. A lot of different opportunities. So we're getting ready to kick off in the near future a capital campaign, and hopefully within a year or so we'll have a shovel in the ground to build this community.
Well, we're looking forward to that, and we thank you for all the work that you do to give back to the community as well. Again, we really appreciate Ken Anderson, former NFL MVP, Bengals legend, and a guy that I'll be voting for to get into the Ring of Honor here to join Paul Brown and Anthony Munoz. Ken Anderson, Ken Riley would be the two I'd vote for, and I'm not just kissing the behind of our guest right now on the show, so there's that. Ken, thank you so much. It's always great catching up. You take care.
Well, you've got my number. Call me again, please.
Yes, sir. Will do. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. Again, Bengals legend Ken Anderson right there. See, Bengals fans, I'm not that bad. If Ken Anderson, a legend, could put up with old Kenner here, I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure that you can, but he's awesome. He really is awesome. I appreciate him taking time and hanging out with us today. If you missed that interview, it'll be made available at wingam.com. Make sure you are downloading and subscribing to the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash podcast in your Apple iTunes and Google Play Store. We'll also have that interview pulled separately on YouTube here in a little bit. Make sure you follow the ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. I appreciate that. My boss even said, hey, Kenner, you're doing a good job with that YouTube channel. You're getting that built up. Keep it going. He goes, that's the last compliment on it you're going to get there because we need more. We need more. So, help us out. But a lot of good stuff on our ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. You can go back and watch previous shows, select segments, all interviews, including the one we just did with Ken Anderson right there. But good stuff. But Ken Anderson, interesting. He brought up, Jamar Chase. He brought up Joe Burrow's former teammate. And, that's what's interesting about that. But overall, he talked about the importance of, he didn't have to worry about an offensive line when he came into the league. As a young player, they get Anthony Munoz and they get some of those guys put together. And he never had to worry about that. So that's something that Joe Burrow's coming in and having to deal with everything right off the bat. So there you go. We'll be back in a moment. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. We'll be back in a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 55. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low around 36. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces around your home, office, or commercial property. Crack filling, asphalt sealing, and parking lot striping. Find us at culletsealcoating.com.
Have you been seeking a final resting place for your loved one's cremated remains? Are you tired of endlessly searching to find a permanent home for a family member that gives you peace of mind, offers more security than the mantle, and doesn't cost thousands of dollars? This is Mark Davis from Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery, located at 8135 North Dixie Drive. We are pleased to announce a new product that offers families the opportunity to give their loved ones a permanent, serene, final resting place for as little as $300. Call us today at 937-890-1831.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
O'Reilly. Cleaning your fuel system can make your car run better and improve gas mileage. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts and pick up a bottle of Chevron Techron Fuel System Cleaner and add it to your tank during your next fill-up. On sale now, buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stop by and talk to our professional parts people today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, my name is Brian Sommers, and I'm an attorney with Kirkland and Sommers. We are a law firm dedicated to divorce and family law. We have 2 locations serving Miami Valley, one near Austin Landing and the other in Troy. Remember, we're not part-time divorce and family lawyers. We're full-time here for you.
Kirkland and Sommers, trusted and experienced, a family law practice dedicated to serving you. Visit them online at kirklandandsummers.com. That's Summers with an O, kirklandandsummers.com.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer, and now is a great time to buy. For a limited time, Honda has extended 0% financing on the 2021 Honda Passport, Honda CR-V, Honda HR-V, Honda Pilot, Honda Ridgeline, and the 2021 Honda Odyssey for well-qualified buyers. See me, sales manager Jason High, for the complete details. We are located at Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way.
Battery power made by steel. From trimmers and mowers to chainsaws and blowers, steel battery tools are exactly what you need to tackle your to-do list. Whether you need to maintain your yard or completely transform your landscape. Shop online for the Steel AK Homeowner Series starting at just $199.99. Pick up at over 10,000 local steel dealers. Real steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hi, Pete Kasuji here to tell you it's time to start thinking green. Get out those shovels and rakes and take advantage of every sunny day this month so you don't have to play catch up next month. Get started on that landscape project you've been thinking about all winter. Plant a tree or a hedge, a flowering shrub, or maybe a few evergreens and ornamental grass around the porch or deck. It's also time to sow our famous green mat grass seed for a lush green lawn this summer. Sow that grass seed now and you'll be mowing by the middle of May. We've got everything you need for a great looking yard or patio at our 6-acre garden center at 1309 Brant Pike. Come out and see why they call them greenhouses.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Staples has everything you need to be organized and productive, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organization supplies, all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start with big savings from Staples.
It's time to swing for the fences. Want to win $1,000? Be listening weekdays once an hour starting at 6 a.m. for the winning word and enter it at wingam.com. It's the Swing for the Fences $1,000 a day giveaway right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kevin Nash, hanging out with you here on a Thursday. Good stuff there from Bengals legend Ken Anderson, former NFL MVP. Got to get, good stuff from him regarding, if he was Joe Burrow, who would he want? Of course, he did hop on it a little bit as far as he didn't really give a set answer, but he kept pounding home the importance of the offensive line. I don't have kids, but I remember when I was a kid and my parents would say, make a list of what you want for Christmas. And I would make a list like a mile long. And then my parents would have to come to me and say, okay, you can't have all of those things. So you have to pick what's most important to you. So when I was a kid and I had this long Christmas list of everything, then I had to go back and sit there and like look at this list and say, man, I would really like this new Power Rangers toy. Oh man, this Toy Story poster is pretty damn cool. I don't know what the hell I was into. I know I liked Power Rangers. I know that. I liked wrestling. It was a lot of wrestling. I wanted the WWE Championship belt. I wanted the WWE ring. And then I had all the wrestlers. Or friends made fun of me, said I had dolls, but they were wrestlers. They were action figures.
Yeah.
But when I had this list, I had to have a list a mile long of all the things I wanted for Christmas. And my parents would come to me and say, okay, Justin, that's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you have this long list, but you can't have all of these things. You can't have Kyle Pitts. You can't have Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. So you have to decide, Justin, of this Christmas wish list that you have, what's most important to you. And if you're Joe Burrow, and you have this Christmas wish list, and Santa Claus is only going to give you one, it's not about what you want anymore. It's about what you need. And I started looking at all of my Christmas list wishes. And I'm like, man, I have the ring. It was a really cool wrestling ring, by the way. It even came with a little Titantron. And then it had like pictures of the wrestlers. And when you push the button, like the theme of the wrestler would play. It was really cool. But I remember, I had the ring. I had the Titantron. I got that like as an early Christmas gift, but I really needed more. I didn't have the wrestlers for it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I wanted this bike. I wanted this Game Boy. I really wanted the Game Boy. The Pokemon and all that stuff. I really wanted the Pokemon game for a Game Boy. I really wanted a Game Boy. But I'm like, man, but I really want these wrestlers for this thing too. I have this cool ring. I have this Titantron. The ring was a case. So you opened it. You put all your wrestlers and the ropes and everything in there. It was so damn cool. I really wanted that. But I also wanted the Game Boy. I also wanted the games for the Game Boy, So there's a bunch of cool, a bike, everything. So I had to look at that list and say, okay, what are my needs versus my wants? And my needs became, I really need, these wrestlers for this cool little ring that I have. So I also need a bike to get to school. All my friends had bikes and they were riding their bike to school, and I was the only one that didn't have a bike. So I went from wanting wrestlers for my new ring, all right, and my new Titantron. It was so cool. I was so pumped. I really wanted a Game Boy. I really wanted the damn Game Boy. Remember they had Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, which are so stupid because it was all the same damn game, and it just totally screwed parents out of money. I had the blue, the yellow, the red, and I couldn't figure out what the difference between any of the damn games was, to be honest with you. But the bottom line is this, is I can have a Christmas wish list, and I had to separate my needs versus my wants. And I needed a bike. I needed to get on my bike to head to school every day. I wanted the Game Boy. I wanted the Pokemon Blue, Yellow, and Red. I wanted the cool wrestlers for the wrestling ring. I wanted all that, but I needed a bike. So I got my bike. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on here. I keep seeing people in this comment section. Yeah, but Chase, they need Chase. He's going to be great. No. You want Chase. You don't need Chase. Because if you draft Chase with this offensive line, you don't have a quarterback to throw it to him. I mean, Brian Anderson, or whatever the hell his name is, the backup, Brandon Allen, he's really going to appreciate you drafting a receiver for him to throw to the last half of the season. But you don't need a receiver. This Brian Hetzel, he thinks he's so intelligent in here. He comes at me on every post. Everything I post, I ignore him, but I'm not ignoring him anymore. He's sitting here pulling this little, why would you draft Sewell? There's nowhere for him to play. I'm like, if you think that, can you imagine, by the way, so the Falcons are at number 4. Why would you draft Justin Fields? You have Matt Ryan. It's not about this coming up season. No one is drafting for this coming up season alone. You are drafting for the future, big picture. Why did you draft Joe Burrow? You had Andy Dalton. There, I could be dumb too. You see how that didn't make any sense? Why would you draft Sewell when you already have a right tackle? They just signed Reif to a 1-year deal. So you have Reif for 2021. You don't need Sewell. If you think it's that simple, I feel bad for you. Because if that's the case, then the Bengals shouldn't have drafted Joe Burrow last year because they had Andy Dalton. You see why this makes sense? I just don't get it. It's not about wants, it's about needs, and you don't need a receiver, you don't need a tight end, you need an offensive lineman. So there's that. And he goes, there's plenty of high-ranking offensive linemen in this draft as well, but no one is being talked about. If that's the case, then why is Sewell the only one anyone's talking about? I'm tired of hearing that. If they are as good as Sewell, we'd be saying, man, I think 4 tackles are going to be taken in the top 10. No, there's only 1 tackle being discussed taken in the top 10, and that's Penei Sewell. And you don't take a lesser offensive lineman to get a wide receiver. That just doesn't make any sense.
What do you think about if the Bengals trade back and they end up with Rashawn Slater from Northwestern?
Yeah, I mean, and it's Sewell and him. Those are the two biggest names offensive lineman wise. There's other serviceable, and I keep hearing this, and we talked about this the other day. Well, there's a lot of potential starters in the first 3 rounds. Okay, well, define a starter, because the Bengals have starters, and they're trying to replace them starters. Mm-hmm. So being graded as a starter doesn't mean anything to me. I want Penei Sewell do you want a guy who's being graded as a potential starter, or do you want a guy that's being graded as the next Anthony Munoz? And it's kind of funny how that still doesn't ring a bell with these Bengals fans as far as what's important. If you could trade back and get Slater and maybe get 2 offensive linemen in the first round, more power to you. But dropping back into the second and third just doesn't make any sense. I don't want to hear about, they need a receiver. They need a lot. That's why they only won 5, 6, whatever games. That's why they're picking in the top 5 for the second year in a row. That's why they're in last place. Yes, I know they have a lot of needs, but you have to prioritize those needs. Offensive line. Easy.
For sure.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. So I'm tired of talking about the team that doesn't know how to, with fans who don't understand the importance of this. So let's talk about a team that actually knows what they're doing. Let's talk about a team that had needs and they addressed every single one of them. Let's talk about a team that is about to win the AFC North in 2020. We're going to step away for a few minutes and we're going to talk about them damn Cleveland Browns because, he's overrated. No sacks last year. He's a bum. The Cleveland Browns are winning the AFC North. We'll discuss when we come back. Enough of this Bengals stuff. Let's talk about a team that actually knows how to build a roster. Let's talk about a team that knows how to win games and make the playoffs and win in the playoffs. I can't believe I'm saying this. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, baby. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits is also the home for value. Frickers Everyday Value begins on Monday with boneless frickin' chicken wings, 69 cents each. Tuesday offers traditional frickin' chicken wings, 69 cents each. On Wednesday, enjoy a steak dinner for $6.99. And Thursday, frickin' chicken chunks for $6.99. Download the Frickers Mobile app to receive loyalty points, free food, and order online. Today and every day, the home for everyday values is the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Hello.
Honey, where are you?
Well, I'm at Rural King, darling.
What? You sent me to... And you go to Rural King? You went to my favorite store without me.
Well, I was just passing by and saw they were having their King of Spring event. I had to get some veggies and herbs before they're gone.
But you went without me.
Friends, don't wait another minute. Rural King is the King of Spring and nobody beats their prices.
But you went without me.
To make sure that the air in your home is absolutely perfect, call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning. They are offering up to $1,800 in rebates or make no payments for 6 months when you finance a new Lennox system for as little as $132 a month. Call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 today. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Ohio license number 14911.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-305-7080. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-305-7083 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-305-7083 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-305-7083.
Cub Cadet XT Enduro Series lawn tractors are setting the standard for performance and comfort. Head to your locally owned Cub Cadet dealer, East Lawn and Garden, today and see how the fastest growing lawn tractor delivers more strength, more versatility, and more durability in one lineup. All backed by strong warranties and the genuine parts, accessories, and trained service technicians only your local Cub Cadet dealer can provide. For expert advice, superior service, and exceptional offers, visit East Lawn and Garden, 1632 East Route 36 in Urbana today.
It's auction time again in North Lima, Ohio with home improvement products and building materials, and it's all online, ending this Tuesday at 12 noon. Go to pbauctions.com and register to bid on name brand home improvement products online. Kitchens, flooring, Anderson windows and doors, decking, unclaimed freight, and more, all sold online at pbauctions.com. Auction ends this Tuesday at noon, so we'll see you online at the auction.
Hi, my name is Brian Sommers, and I'm an attorney with Kirkland and Sommers. We are a law firm dedicated to divorce and family law. We have 2 locations serving Miami Valley, one near Austin Landing and the other in Troy. Remember, we're not part-time divorce and family lawyers. We're full-time here for you.
Kirkland and Sommers, trusted and experienced, a family law practice dedicated to serving you. Visit them online at kirklandandsummers.com. That's Summers with an O, kirklandandsummers.com.
Rittal North America, LLC in Urbana will be hosting open interviews every Thursday at the Ohio Means Jobs Champaign County office, located at 1512 U.S. State Route 68, Suite J100 in Urbana from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please park in the back. If Thursdays do not work for you, please send your resume to Katie McKee at mckee.k@rittal.us. Rittal has immediate openings seeking experienced welders, machine operators, paint unloaders, and paint loaders. Rittal is proud to be an affirmative action and equal opportunity employer.
Hi, I'm calling to schedule a shipment.
Indeed knows unexpected employee turnover can turn your business upside down.
Last pickup is at 7? Team, we gotta hustle.
Like at Sumita's online chai company, to avoid back orders, she needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to win $1,000. It's the Swing for the Fences $1,000 a day giveaway. Each hour starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, we'll release a winning word that you can submit at wingam.com. It's easy, it's free, and you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So what's stopping you? Take a chance and swing for the fences and participate at wingam.com. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Thursday. Hope everyone's having a great day. It's a little chilly out for my liking here today.
No bike ride for me today. I went yesterday, though.
See, it's really not that cold out, but in comparison to the 65 plus and 70 plus degree weather we've had in the recent weeks, today feels a little chilly, but nonetheless is what it is. I hope everyone's had a great day. I really enjoyed that interview with Ken Anderson. If you missed it, it's up at the website, wingam.com. Subscribe, download the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash podcast in your Apple iTunes, Google Play Store. It'll also be made available on YouTube immediately following the show. So head to YouTube and make sure you subscribe to the ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. So big news yesterday that, is big news, but it's not big news, but it's big news because it's just a team that is refusing to lie down. They're refusing to just be complacent. They're refusing to just say, you know what, I think we're good enough. And you can say what you want about the Cleveland Browns all you want. Oh, they're still Cleveland. It's just the Browns. And they deserve that. They deserve the doubt. They deserve those to be skeptical about them. And that's not going to change for a while. So I love people's really intelligent responses on Facebook every time. Oh, but it's still the Browns until further. I'm like, you guys, no matter what the Browns do, the goalpost will always be moved because we learned that last year. Browns are going to win 9 games. They're going to miss the playoffs, and another bad year for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has a great year. Baker Mayfield and the Browns win 12 games. Baker Mayfield and the Browns make the playoffs. Baker Mayfield and the Browns actually win a playoff game, and they beat the Steelers at Pittsburgh. I know, Kev.
No thanks.
Now, so with that being said, everyone still was moving the goalpost back. Yeah, well, good luck. They're going to get their ass kicked against the Chiefs. And, you look at that Chiefs game, if Patrick Mahomes stays healthy, there's a chance that game, they get routed. But there's a reason, though, because that Kansas City Chiefs team pretty damn good, especially when they have all their offensive linemen, especially when Patrick Mahomes isn't, being bit by turf toe and everything else. But with that being said, if that touchdown to Higgins isn't overcalled whenever he dropped out of the back of the end zone or whatever, like if that doesn't happen, it's a 1-possession game with a few minutes to go in the first half. Everyone acted as if that game was just so out of reach. No, it was, even with Patrick Mahomes, it would have been a 1-possession game at the half. So that's why I was just like, and then, in the second half, how you let Henny or whatever the hell his name is close you out like that. 8 minutes. They punted the ball with 8 minutes to go in the game. And the defense could not get off the field. Baker Mayfield wasn't the problem. Baker Mayfield had a couple very impressive drives. Baker Mayfield didn't crumble in the moment, Kev. Baker Mayfield didn't look like a young quarterback who the moment was too big for. Baker Mayfield played great. But that defense, 8 minutes remaining on the clock. Kansas City takes the ball out, backup quarterback, and the Browns defense could not get off the field. That was on Baker. That was on the Browns. So what did the Cleveland Browns say heading into the offseason? Man, we have the best offensive line in football, best run game in football, great receivers, very good quarterback. Not a great. I didn't say Baker was great. Very good quarterback. We got a very, very elite. We have one of the top 3 pass rusher in Myles Garrett. We have some serviceable secondary guys, and we don't have a whole hell of a lot else. So the Browns this offseason have done exactly what they were supposed to do. Attack their needs. Not once. I'm sure the Browns probably want a lot, but they went after their needs. They made sure to beef up their secondary. They made sure to add depth there. They didn't stop just because, we have Delpit coming. The Browns, Kev, easily could have gone the cheap route here. The Browns could have said, you know what, we have Delpit coming back. Now, Delpit, what did the Bengals say? Well, it's almost like we got an additional first-round pick this year because Jonah Williams didn't play his rookie year, so it's like we got an additional first-round. Stop. So, Grant Delpit. The Browns could have done the same. They could have pulled the same thing, Kev. They could have just said, well, we got Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams. He'll be healthy for next year, so we'll be fine. They could have honestly said that. They could have said they would have Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams. Ronnie Harrison Jr., they could have been fine. But they didn't. They will go after, they get Troy Hill. They didn't stop there. Then they go out and they obviously get the safety that everyone was super excited about. Again, just taking 2 of the best defensive players away from the Rams. It's unbelievable the job that the Browns did defensively in free agency. And then they didn't stop there. They go out and they add, they bring in the linebacker from, of course, the Colts. Then they go out yesterday and they make it official. They signed Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney, Cleveland Browns reach a 1-year deal worth up to $10 million. $8 million of that is the base. And then, of course, $2 million in incentives. And by the way, the only reason, Clowney, for one, did not play last year due to injury, played a few games or whatever. And of course, people are talking, people like to forget the context. You taught me about context the other day. Let's talk about context. He didn't have any sacks last year. He didn't play the whole season. And Jadeveon Clowney has never, ever been known as being a sacks guy. Jadeveon Clowney, number 1 overall pick. Here's the problem with that. He's never lived up to the hype of being the number 1 overall pick. But even with him not living up to the hype of being the number 1 overall pick, is still one of the best pass rushing defenders out there. Always gets to the quarterback. In fact, I saw him, by the way, this is why I know stats are full of crap, because you can always make numbers sing and dance. I make fun of these stats, but when it proves my point, then I'm all for it. Pass rushing efficiency, pass rushing percentage, he's top 5 since 2016 in that category, even with last year's numbers. So it's about getting there, too. Again, you get there, you're forcing the quarterback the other way. There's Myles Garrett waiting. I'm not making excuses. This wasn't a season-defining signing. This was a good signing, a signing that a year ago, everyone's like, well, see, we didn't need him last year. No, we didn't need him at $18 million a year. But $8 million a year for $10 million less. And by the way, if he does get the incentives to earn that $10 million, then hey, that means he did something on the field. I'm fine with that. The Browns, in my opinion, were the 3rd best roster in football in the AFC before this. This just adds a little bit of depth. They have 3 former number 1 overall picks. They have 10 first-round picks on both sides of the ball right now. Cleveland, I mean, I know they're the Browns, and if any other roster would have put this roster, if any other team, Kev, would have put this roster together, we'd be going bananas. The Browns' stench of the embarrassment that they have been for so long has kept football from being able to enjoy what this roster actually is, and it's pretty damn good. One of the best secondaries in football now. I know that when you look at Jadeveon Clowney, for one, if he's your premier pass rusher, you have a problem. That's Myles Garrett. Now you have him. You added Takk McKinley. You added depth. You have good guys up front. This Browns team is set. They're the third most talented roster in the AFC. Obviously you can't sit there and argue with the Chiefs. Not the AFC, the league as a whole. Kansas City Chiefs are the most talented roster. Well, no, maybe the Bucks. It doesn't matter. 1 and 2, 1A, 1B, Bucks and in Kansas City. The Browns are the third most talented roster. And if that roster had any other helmet, any other jersey, any other name, everyone would be saying the same thing. But because it's the Browns, everyone's just going to hate on them. I'm predicting them to win the AFC North. That's not me being a homer. That's not me just trying to poo-poo on your Steelers, Kev. Like, I still think the Steelers are actually, they got another one of their linebackers back, correct? Mm-hmm. So they're not as far off. Like, I don't think that they're not going to be 11-0. I still think they can make the playoffs. They're not going to be the most dangerous Steelers team of all time, that's for sure. But again, you look at the Ravens, you look at the Browns, you look at the Steelers. Those three are the top three teams in the AFC North. There's only 4. The Bengals are finishing in last. There's no question about that. But the bottom line is that the Cleveland Browns have done absolutely everything right. The only mistake that they have made over the last 2 years is hiring Freddie Kitchens and making RC Cola the official pop of the Cleveland Browns. Those are the only 2 mistakes that they've made. I cannot say enough how impressed I have been with the job that Andrew Berry has done, because I don't think a lot of people, he's a rookie, second-year GM and rookie head coach last year. Coach and players missing time due to COVID left and right. They kept winning games. They won a playoff game without their head coach. What I get, it's easier to be a hater. Not you, Kev. You keep it down the middle, and that's what drives me nuts. I'm trying to get you to the dark side, but you won't. You won't commit. But it's easy to be a hater. It's easy to be a Bengals fan who literally has been the laughingstock of the NFL for how many years now, and you have the nerve to, it's still the Browns. Who are you to poke fun at the Browns? Who are you? Oh, yeah, well, to get to the playoffs, good luck getting a playoff win. They beat the Steelers, something you couldn't do. You got there 5 straight years and couldn't get a playoff win. And you have the nerve to sit there and point at the Browns and make fun of them, who not only made the playoffs, but got a win in the playoffs. They did it in their first try in 20 years, something you couldn't do for 5 straight years. And you're going to talk smack about the Browns? You're an embarrassment to the AFC North, and I highly suggest you start doing your part to carry your weight, because if the Cleveland Browns can carry their weight in this division, I'm pretty sure the Bengals can do a lot more than adding a wide receiver to a team with no offensive line and then talking about, I don't know why Joe Burrow was only playing through week 9 this year again. The bottom line is kudos to Andrew Berry, kudos to the Cleveland Browns, and I love the signing, especially at $8 million a year. Another veteran, another former first-round pick, another defensive presence. And if anyone, including you, says injuries, then our argument about who was the NBA player, who was the NBA player last week? That's how much I was locked in on our argument the other day. Who was it? No, seriously, don't leave me out here to drown. You are horrible. I can't believe you're letting me drown right here. Who was the player that we were arguing about the other day?
We're talking about
Reggie Miller. If you thought my reaction to Reggie Miller was bad, I dare you to bring up injuries, because you know what? Everyone's an injury away. But the Bengals are going to be good this year. Well, if Joe Burrow could stay healthy. Well, man, Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to be really good. Well, Patrick Mahomes could stay healthy. Joe Burrow could stay healthy. The injury game, that's the same for everybody. That's a lazy excuse for people who don't have anything else to say other than, well, he doesn't sack anybody. The numbers show. By the way, do you know the other 2 teams that wanted him, that were close to signing him? And he picked the Browns over the Ravens, and he picked the Browns over the Colts. Don't tell me that Cleveland's not there with the upper echelon of these big teams in the NFL, because they are.
For me, it's a name. He has a big name, but he doesn't have the production to match his draft selection or his name. Mm-hmm. And for 2, it tells me that the Browns are going for it. And I think both can be true at the same time. I can think that Jadeveon Clowney is an average NFL football player for various reasons. And, we can talk about, oh, man, he doesn't have sacks and everything like that. Oh, he this, that, and the third. But he's been more of a run-stuffing defensive end. A guy
that's the one point I forgot. Thank you.
He sets the line of scrimmage. He sets the edge and everything like that. And for people that don't think that's important, go ahead and watch Chad Henne pick up 14 yards on a 3rd and 15.
So painful.
So those things are very important in football. The easy stat for everybody to look at is sack numbers, and I understand that. I understand that he hasn't really had those sack numbers. I have not been a Jadeveon Clowney guy because, of the college career, of the projection of what he was supposed to be in the NFL. So if people view him in a certain light because he's not the next Lawrence Taylor and everything like that, as he was projected to be by everybody in the media and everything like that, I think that still lingers over him. But that doesn't mean he is not having a successful NFL career, because setting the edge and stuffing the run, those are very important in the NFL. But I still think he's at a name. But with that said, signing him for $8 million is a great deal. It adds depth to the Cleveland Browns lineup. I did kind of get the stink face when I heard his interview saying like, "Oh man, I've been double teamed my entire career. It's finally be block 101." Well, you know what? JJ Watt, you play with him too. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure they were doubling JJ Watt when you were playing with him down there in Houston. But anyway, I think for the Browns,
JJ Watt also injured a lot, also missed a lot of time. And there were back-to-back his last 2 seasons. JJ Watt played a combined 9 games those last 2 seasons where and I agree with you. Jadeveon is not a elite. I don't look at him as a Myles Garrett.
Right.
But when you look at they added tech, they added him, like they added depth. Like that's where this is a good signing for me.
And that's where I'm at with it. It's a depth piece for them. And this says to the fan base that, hey man, we're gonna roll the dice. We're gonna go after it. We're gonna stockpile it up with guys that have been playing in this league, that are veterans in this league, along with our young talent. We're gonna make a run for it, and there's no shame in that. But for me personally, I just think the John Johnson pick is boatloads more important than the Jadeveon Clowney pickup. He's a free safety who can cover in a slot and everything like that. He's a big hitter as well. That pickup is 10 times more important than Jadeveon Clowney. But people aren't going to be saying John Johnson's name because he's not a name. He's not a name that people know, but everybody knows Jadeveon Clowney since he was a senior in high school. And we've been talking about him like that. But John Johnson, the dude drafted in the 5th round from the Rams, signs with the Browns as a free agent. Nobody knows him. I mean, he played with the Rams. Like, how many Rams games are people watching on a daily basis? But we all know Jadeveon Clowney. The John Johnson pick for the Browns is light years ahead of the Jadeveon Clowney pickup. Yes, it's a depth piece. Yes, it's something else they can do because, Myles Garrett, knock on wood. No, I'm not trying to wish nobody get hurt, but, he could get hurt. He could get COVID again like he did last year and miss time. So if you're able to have a Jadeveon Clowney to put in that spot or on the rotation as well, that's a good thing. So for me, I look at it as like, okay, I recognize what the Browns are doing. They're saying like, hey, man, we have a window. And we're going to go for it. And all the Browns fans out there should commend their team for going for it, because there's several teams out there who don't go for it, who just think to themselves like, all right, man, we're only a couple of pieces away, but we're not going to roll the dice and go for it right now. This is a perfect opportunity for the Browns to roll the dice with him. And to be perfectly honest, Jadeveon Clowney got over because he's getting $8 million.
But he wanted 18 million. He got that from the Titans last year. That's
what I'm saying. He got his big contract from the Titans. Now he's with the Browns with a solid contract, and he probably should have been with the Browns last year.
But every year he is looked at as the top free agent defensive pass rusher, regardless of the stats that people like to use. And no teams aren't paying $18.5 million to bums.
And they're in the NFL. They're recognizing the fact that what I talked about, he's setting the edge. You can't run to the outside on him. You're not going to do that.
So there's a gap between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but they complement each other perfectly. There's a huge gap between Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, but they complement each other perfectly. Like I think this is going to work for a lot of reasons. And Shaw says injuries have to be a part of the conversation with Clowney. That is a part of his history. That being said, he stays on the field, good signing, and helps the defense a lot. Well, see, this is why fans drive me nuts, because you are hearing this narrative that is not as big as you think it is. In fact, if you look at Jadeveon Clowney's history, in fact, played 8 games last year, only 2 less than the marvelous Joe Burrow, by the way. He only played 8 games last year and started in all games. Okay. The year before that, Kev, he played in 13 of 16 games, missed 3. That's not okay. But again, you're playing football. to sit there and act like players are supposed to start 16 of 16 and now 17 of 17. Come on. So before that, Kev, in 2019, he played 13 of 16 games. In 2018, he played 15 of 16 games. In 2017, he played 16 of 16 games. In 2016, he played 14 of 16 games. And in 2015, he played 13 of 16 games. He's injured every year, but if you really go after every player probably averages 1 to 2 games missed a season. Now, recent history is showing only played 8 games last year, missed 3 games the year before. But I don't look at him as a guy that has injury history. J.J. Watt was the guy that J.J. Watt continuously missed more than half the season on 4 different occasions. J.J. Watt was the guy that went out and got major dollars from the Arizona Cardinals. He's the one you have to worry about but we live in this recency world. And again, that's kind of important when you're signing a guy now. What have you done lately? But he played he played in every game last season until he didn't. That doesn't make really a whole hell of a lot of sense. But my point is before last season, is missing what is the cutoff for how many games you can miss before you be deemed a problem? Because in football, you can't say I need you 16 to 16. Well, you need them 16 to 16, but it's not realistic to expect every of your your star players.
He plays on the D line. So D line and offensive lineman, you shouldn't expect them to play 16 games. You should expect your quarterback and your wide receivers to play 16 games, but positions like those that collide like that, you shouldn't expect that. My question for the Browns fans who think this is a home run pickup, do you get worried, or what's your thought process of saying like, okay, the Texans didn't want to sign him to a long-term deal. The Seahawks didn't want to sign him to a long-term deal. And the Titans didn't want to sign him to a long-term deal. Each team he's been with said, no, we're cool. We're cool with you on a short-term basis. We don't view you as a long-term fit on our team. Does that alarm you any type of way?
No, because I think that, for one, he started that process he was gambling on himself. But you're right. A lot of teams didn't want to for one, he was asking for an uber amount of money. But teams are also at the point now where they're like, we don't want to marry talent like this that we could find in the draft. And it's like, we'd rather take our chance. That's why a lot of these players are getting, and go look at all the defensive players. Like Aldon Smith just got signed for a 1-year deal. Carlos Dunlap, a 1-year deal. Him, a 1-year deal. A lot of really good defensive players are getting signed for 1-year deals. I don't think and I think right now, coming off of a COVID season too, I think a lot of teams are kind of like, okay, we'll marry these guys short term for 1 year. But you're right. The last couple of seasons, that's been the case as far as that goes. But in the NFL, you see that more than any other sport, where these guys, and with how physical it is, it surprises me that they only go for that they're comfortable with these 1-year deals. But again, overspending for a guy in 1 year, like the Titans, like, okay, we'll give you 18.5. That's fine for 1 year, but you're not married long term to it. So yes, they shot themselves in the foot last year, but after 1 year, they just wiped their hands of it and moved on. Imagine if you would have given him that for 3 years, then that would have been a problem. So there's that. And here's the other thing. And Shaw goes, in 2 of those seasons, Clowney missed the playoff games. It doesn't matter. I just got done telling you that you don't know what you're talking about when you sit there and try to say that, he never plays. He never plays. I just got done telling you that, yes, he missed half of last season. Injuries happen. It's football. But if you go back from 2019 and beyond, he's played in 13 to 16, 15 to 16, 16 to 16, 14 to 16. And 13 to 16. Does that sound like a guy who, yes, he misses games. It's football. No one plays 16 to 16. Not over a career that long, Kev. And by the way, if you want to talk about injury, Myles Garrett's his beast, right? And he is. He's the one that has the injury concerns. Last year, played in 14 of the 17 games or 18 games. Okay. He played
that was COVID though.
He played in,
That was COVID though.
But it doesn't matter. He was out. How many guys missed because, it doesn't matter.
He can't count that against him. That's no.
Okay, Kev, how about only playing in 10 of 16? How about only playing in 11 of 16?
That was suspension.
But it doesn't matter. You are paid you have to be out on the field. So it doesn't matter.
11, I thought
so from the injury, okay, fair enough. My bad. I'll admit I'm wrong there. My bad. Retracting that. Shaw's still wrong as always, though. My bad. I apologize. But the point is if we're going to talk about injuries, but reliability, though, like reliability is,
right.
But COVID, damn it, Kev, fine. But Shaw still don't know what the hell he's talking about. We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Waiting for spring is one thing. Waiting for spring savings is another. At the Home Depot, you don't have to wait for either one. Our best prices of the season are here now. In-store, online, store-wide. Get a 40-volt battery-powered Ryobi string trimmer for just $159. And more savings on everything, from fresh paint to power blowers. You've waited long enough. Bring on spring. The Spring Savings Event, now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Valid through April 18th while supplies last.
What's in store this week at Staples?
A big deal on ink. That's kind of a big deal.
Staples has the technology, furniture, and supplies you need for a totally productive workspace.
And right now, you can earn 40% back in Staples rewards when you purchase any 2 ink or toner cartridges.
Shop in store or get same-day delivery powered by Instacart.
Ends 4/17/21. Limit 4 in store and on Instacart only. Visit staplesconnect.com/ink rewards for details. Instacart delivery subject to availability. Additional fees may apply.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
To all you do-it-yourselfers, get ready to welcome Fram into the fam. Because America's #1 oil filter brand now has their own new line of motor oil and fluids. And it's only at Advance and CarQuest Auto Parts. Stop into Advance and choose from 4 new Fram oil change bundles starting at just $20.99. They have the oil and filters you need to keep your engine running stronger, longer. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Need a U.S. passport? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Visit one of our convenient auto title locations in Huber Heights, Clayton, downtown, Moraine, and Centerville. Make us your first destination before you travel abroad. No appointments ever needed. We do passports.com for more info.
There's been a lot of talk about the chicken sandwich wars lately, but only Lee's Chicken Sandwich is made famous. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, homestyle happens here with our chicken sandwich combo for only $5.99. You'll get a fresh, never frozen chicken breast in your choice of famous recipe or spicy, topped with chipotle ranch and pickles on a brioche bun, all served with a regular side and drink. Get a taste of fame with our chicken sandwich combo for only $5.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Staples has everything you need to be organized and productive, like home office furniture, the latest tech, and organization supplies, all at amazing prices. Get a fresh start with big savings from Staples.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 55. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a low around 36. And tomorrow's going to be partly cloudy, a high near 60. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces around your home, office, or commercial property. Crack filling, asphalt sealing, and parking lot striping. Find us at culletsealcoating.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring owner-operator and fleet owners. Dedicated home daily round-trip lanes. That's right, round-trip, get paid for all miles, 100% no-touch freight. Cordell is offering great pay, a discounted fuel program, and free on-site truck parking, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus per truck. Take advantage of the dedicated round-trip miles, sign-on bonus, and home every day or every other day. Go online to CordellTransportation.com to apply today. Cordell Transportation. Transportation, driven to succeed.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces around your home, office, or commercial property. Crack filling, asphalt sealing, and parking lot striping. Find us at culletsealcoating.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring owner-operator and fleet owners. Dedicated home daily round-trip lanes. That's right, round-trip, get paid for all miles, 100% no-touch freight. Cordell is offering great pay, a discounted fuel program, and free on-site truck parking, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus per truck. Take advantage of the dedicated round-trip miles, sign-on bonus, and home every day or every other day. Go online to CordellTransportation.com to apply today. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Hi, my name is Brian Sommers, and I'm an attorney with Kirkland and Sommers. We are a law firm dedicated to divorce and family law. We have 2 locations serving Miami Valley, one near Austin Landing and the other in Troy. Remember, we're not part-time divorce and family lawyers. We're full-time here for you.
Kirkland and Sommers, trusted and experienced, a family law practice dedicated to serving you. Visit them online at kirklandandsummers.com. That's Summers with an O, kirklandandsummers.com.
It's auction time again in North Lima, Ohio with home improvement products and building materials, and it's all online, ending this Tuesday at 12 noon. Go to pbauctions.com and register to bid on name brand home improvement products online. Kitchens, flooring, Anderson windows and doors, decking, unclaimed freight, and more, all sold online at pbauctions.com. Auction ends this Tuesday at noon, so we'll see you online at the auction.
Hi, this is Joe Mullins with the Radio Ramblers. We perform from the Buckeye State to the Grand Ole Opry, featuring bluegrass music, homegrown in Ohio. We're certainly ready to get back on stage. The COVID-19 vaccine will let us all get back in business. Please roll up your sleeve to schedule a vaccine appointment. See gettheshot.coronavirus.ohio.gov or call 1-833-427-5634. Do it today for a healthy Ohio as soon as possible.
Ohio, I'm heading home to you.
Celebrate Jewish culture and community. Don't miss a Taste of Jewish Cultural Festival at Temple Israel on Friday, April 16th. During this special drive-through event, pick up food for the family with everything from traditional baked goods to food truck favorites. Enjoy children's activities, crafts, and the joy and inclusiveness of the Temple Israel family. A Taste of Jewish Cultural Festival, April 16th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Temple Israel on Riverside Drive, the first of 3 special drive-through community events. To learn more, visit tidayton.org.
OHMB 803-342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate, 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
To all you do-it-yourselfers, get ready to welcome Fram into the fam. Because America's #1 oil filter brand now has their own new line of motor oil and fluids, and it's only at Advance and CarQuest Auto Parts. Stop into Advance and choose from 4 new Fram oil change bundles starting at just $20.99. They have the oil and filters you need to keep your engine running stronger, longer. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
How clean is your nose? Most airborne germs and allergens invade through the nose, your body's air filter, its first line of defense. You wash your hands and brush your teeth, but what about your nose? Did you know there's an easy way to keep your nose clean and help your body protect itself? It's called Navage Nasal Care. Navage uses powered suction to clean your nose by flushing out pollen, mucus, bacteria, and viruses. Millions use Navage for fast, all-natural relief from sinus congestion and allergies, and to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier without drugs. Navage is easy to use, affordable, and it comes with an absolute guarantee of satisfaction. And 50,000 independent online reviews averaging 4.7 stars show just how much people love their Navage. You wash your hands and brush your teeth every day. Now you can clean your nose and help protect your health with Navage. At Navage.com, CVS, Walgreens, Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, and Rite Aid. Navage. Navage. Make good nasal hygiene your new normal with Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Get a $5 rebate by trading up any non-contact thermometer toward an Exergen purchased at any retailer. Accuracy matters, especially when it comes to checking for fever. Visit Exergen.com.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to win $1,000. It's the Swing for the Fences $1,000 a day giveaway. Each hour starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, we'll release a winning word that you can submit at wingam.com. It's easy, it's free, and you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So what's stopping you? Take a chance and swing for the fences and participate at wingam.com. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, we are back. How is everybody doing today? We appreciate you hanging out with us. Hanging out here on 1410 ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Sommers and Orion Sports Medicine. We appreciate our sponsors, so shout out to them. Shout out to Ken Anderson, by the way. You're probably like, okay, enough. We get it. You interviewed Ken Anderson. I mainly wanted to interview him for a lot of reasons. For one, I wanted a quarterback's perspective on how to view this upcoming draft, because me and you, we never played high-level football. You know, we can have our opinion. It is what it is. But he would know better than anybody. And he made sure to pound home the importance of, well, you know, he knew how much Anthony Munoz meant to his career. And he kept bringing up how important that offensive line was for him. So if a quarterback, a former MVP in the league, a former MVP of your Cincinnati Bengals talks about the importance of the offensive line, how could you pick somebody else? That's why I'm like, it doesn't make any sense why you would pick anyone other than Penei Sewell right there. Again, not saying those other two aren't good. They're good players. They would be good for the Bengals down the road. But again, every time Joe Burrow steps foot on that field without an elite offensive line, or at least just a good offensive line, they're not even good. So every time he steps foot out there without a good offensive line, you are risking his career. And therefore, I just think that teams don't deserve talent like that sometimes. When they're, it's one thing if you're bad, and, last year they were bad. They had the number 1 overall pick, and they draft Joe Burrow, and you knew they were going to be bad. But, like, this was the year with cap space and with so many available offensive linemen in free agency and a deep OL draft. And, again, I am not for gambling on drafting a rookie to protect my investment. I'm all for getting the veterans in free agency and then maybe complementing it with a rookie or two and going from there. But we've spent a lot of time on that. But it's important to go and listen to that interview with Ken Anderson. Does a good job of breaking it all down. And he said about, look, they're all elite talents. They're all going to help the Bengals. I've never said they wouldn't help the Bengals, but again, this is about Joe Burrow. This isn't about the Bengals. That pick is not the Bengals pick. That is Joe Burrow's pick. That is his future that you are drafting right there. And the wide receiver, there'll be plenty of wide receivers out there. Even on the worst Bengals teams, they've always had good wide receivers. They've always had good receivers. Since I was little, even the worst Bengals teams I watched all had elite level wide receivers.
And that's what I was saying about the Cincinnati Bengals. Like you just said, they have always had wide receivers. I mean, you could talk about Carl Pickens from back in the day. Obviously, the era that they had with Chad Johnson and Peter Warrick, and then T.J. Houshmandzadeh. They had the Chris Henrys, AJ Greens, and everything like that. Like, They always got a guy that can really play some football at the wide receiver position, but it's always been those other things. And the time that they went to the playoffs of 5 straight years, I often think about like, man, what went wrong in those games? And because it wasn't the defense, because in those days that they went to the playoffs those 5 straight years, the defense was elite. The defense was up there. They were up there with sacks, with turnovers.
Not just good. What I loved about those Bengals, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm not a Bengals fan, but I'm not for dirty players or anything like that, but like I love identity defense. Like I love and everyone talks about the Seahawks defense, you know, and everything. They had their cool little nickname and everything like that. That's fine. That was a good defense. I loved the Vontaze Burfict. I love the Pac-Man Jones. I love the guys that, like, you know what, you don't have to, you hate them if they're not on your team, but you love them if they're there. I'm not saying I was all for the headshots and everything else like that, but damn it, you feared the damn Bengals when they came in. I got to play that defense this week. That's what I loved about that team, and I loved those Bengals teams. I mean, I'm not a Bengals fan, but like I loved watching that defense play. They swarmed the damn ball. They just suffocated you. They hurt you. Like, I'm not for the dirty hits, but like that made that team interesting. That gave them an identity. You know, it doesn't mean it's a good thing, but that's how they won their games. And offensively, you know, you could talk about Andy Dalton, you could talk about Marvin Lewis. I just think that anytime these slumps start to develop, they start snowballing to where it becomes mental. I think it just became mental in the playoffs for the Bengals. We talk about it in every sport. There's teams in the NBA that just getting out of the first round. Anthony Davis had that moniker for the longest time. Tracy McGrady had it. There's a lot of great NBA players that's like, okay, they make the playoffs. Everyone's like, man, he led the team to the playoffs. That's awesome. And then 3 years straight, they're out of the first round. You're like, man, he's just a first round guy. He can't get out of the first round. Players act like those things don't exist, but they hear it and they're like, man, we got to win this. We got to get out of the first round. And I think that teams collapse under those narratives, whether they mean to or not. They could say they don't pay attention to them, but I think that's what happened with those Bengals teams. They were too damn good not to win a playoff game. They should have beat your Steelers on that night, but they mentally collapsed. We had Will. I think when we first started, we had Will Allen on, and I remember asking him about that game, and he goes, "We had no business winning that game." Will Allen, like he said, he just was looking around the field in shock. He goes, what in the hell is happening? It was, I mean, we'll have to get him on again soon to share that story. The Bengals should have won that game. It's mental. It really is. It's mental.
Man, I think I talked about this before. I was supposed to go to that game. You know, I'm a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and the wife is a Browns fan, and she basically
she got the raw end of that.
Yeah,
deal.
she beat. I was gonna go, and we were both gonna go, and then it started raining, and she was like, "No, we're not going. I don't even like either team, and it's raining. I'm not going. We can watch it at home. You can order your little pizza and I'll watch it with you, but I'm not sitting in the rain for a team that I don't like, either of them. It'd be different if it was like Ohio State. I'll do it for that, but I'm not doing it for this." I was like, fine, whatever. And we're about to lose. The Bengals are about to run out the clock. And she says, "Now, ain't you glad we didn't go?" I was like, you know what? You're right.
No, you should have been there, because that's a game that people were talking about. It's nearly a decade, half decade.
No. But this is when the Bengals are about to run out the clock. And
okay.
So, like, would have been down there rain and soggy, to have to drive back an hour here, all the hoo-days and everything like that. And then the personal foul, the extra 15 yards. Shouts out to Joey Porter for getting us that extra 15 yards, a field goal. Booyah, we won. And in a blink of an hour, we're on to the next round to lose, by the way, in the playoffs, and beat the Cincinnati Bengals. And I was like, as soon as that happened, like, we should have went, because that's how sports is, especially in the playoffs, man. Things can turn at the drop of a dime. We just saw this in the NFC Championship game with Tampa Bay and the Packers. Like, the Packers were content. The Tampa Bay was content on running out the clock in the first half, but a blown coverage touchdown right before the end of the half to push the lead back up for Tampa Bay. And no matter what Green Bay did in the second half, no matter how many times they intercepted the ball from Tom Brady, that touchdown right before the half end up being the points to win them the game. So in the playoffs, everything is so critical, because, you know, we talk about the NFL only being a 16-week season and everything like that, and every game counts because it's only a few of them. But, you know, you can lose a game and you can regroup. There ain't no regrouping in the playoffs in the NFL. This ain't the NBA where it's a series where, like, all right, man, we lost. Let's go retool and get back at it. You lose once in the NFL playoffs, pack your stuff. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. That's what's going on. It's one and done. And that's why people love it so much. That's why people love the NCAA tournament so much, because it's one and done. There aren't any do-overs. You win it or you lose it, and that's it.
Yeah, and I'm looking at like some of the Andy Dalton stats are alarming in the playoffs. Like when you
what game was that where he was horrible? I want to say it was the Colts, right?
And he threw, that would have been 2000 and I guess. See, he doesn't say who these are. So what year would that have been? Either way, he only had one playoff touchdown in 4 playoff
and that was
games.
Against that Steelers game.
And it was, no, he didn't play in that Steelers game.
Oh, that's right. It was McCarron.
Yeah, it was McCarron.
You're right.
He only played in 4. He only had 1 touchdown in those games. And the problem is like, so he averaged like on a drop back, he would drop back about on average about just under 30 a game. Here are how many times it's almost like the game plan changed. Now it could be because they're behind and that type of thing too. But like he would average under 30 dropbacks a game, and in the playoffs, 42 passing attempts, 51 passing attempts, 40 passing attempts. Like you could just tell the way Marvin Lewis used him, like he was being used differently. But again, that's why I kept preaching last year about Baker Mayfield. It's like, well, they're winning games. Yeah, but in the playoffs, when you have desperation drives, when there is no, we'll find a way to get to next week. You have to. That's why it's important. But like you could just tell the average dropbacks per game during the regular season didn't match his average dropbacks during the playoffs. Now, a lot of that is you're trailing and you have to throw more. I get that. But Andy Dalton showed up. He was so small in those moments. And even, we could talk about the great moments he had in the regular season, but he showed up small in those big moments. But that defense, you know how many great quarterbacks would have loved that deep? I mean, how many great quarterbacks would love that damn defense? I mean, it was unreal.
It was the game against the Chargers where he was just brutal. Andy Dalton was. He was 29 of 51 for 333 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. Like, you can't win games like that, man. And I'm not telling anybody something they don't already know, but they were leading at the half. They were leading at the half 10-7, and then Kaputsville in the second half, they end up losing 27-10 to the Chargers and Phillip Rivers and everything like that. So, like you said, man, when the playoffs are on, man, the pressure is there, and you can't tell me that guys aren't thinking about the pressure. I mean, we look at a LeBron James, and we all can agree he's one of the best basketball players ever to play the game. But in that finals versus the Mavericks, something happened. Mm-hmm. It was the pressure. It was the pressure because he's never played like that ever in his career. And he's haven't played like that
because he'd been to the finals before that, and he had a great finals.
Yeah.
But there was everyone's like, but he lived up to the pressure there. No, he was playing with house money. When they were going up against the Spurs, that was house money.
Yeah.
Because they weren't supposed to win that. And if they won a game or two and forced game 6 or whatever, that was just a cherry on top. Them getting swept, that was supposed to happen. So LeBron was playing so free and loose in his first finals appearance ever after he had that monster game against the Pistons, to get them there. He scored the final 20-something points in the fourth quarter and overtime. It was one of my favorite ever games of his. But with that being said, it crumbles you. That's why I brought up the fact, so when Baker made the playoffs last year, I said, this game is so important because we see how quickly narratives develop and how narratives start rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Baker getting to the playoffs and losing in the playoffs in a game that you were good enough to win, that's a problem. That's a bad, you cannot, especially, even if it is Pittsburgh, I don't care if it was Pittsburgh, if Pittsburgh won, they were supposed to, okay, fine. But then you lose your first playoff game. That's your first experience of the playoffs. And you get there next year. And then if you lose that one, then all of a sudden it becomes its narrative of its own. We just can't win in the playoffs. We can get there, but we can't win in the playoffs. And then fans get uneasy. The Bengals fans, I remember that last year they made the playoffs against the Steelers. That regular season, the fans were horrible.
Mm-hmm.
The season was boring. I remember that because we were,
the only thing that mattered was the playoffs.
Yeah, it's like, we won in the regular season. Cool. After every win, there was no excitement. When the Bengals won that year, there was no excitement.
Well, I think that pressure was put on by the team. I remember.
Well, every year it's like, you're bringing Marvin back again.
I think it was the players. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. People that really follow the Bengals like that, but I believe it was Andy Dalton, the leaders of the team, Andy Dalton and AJ Green, that says, "Well, only thing that matters is winning in the playoffs." I think they said that early in the season. So, it's great that your leaders are setting the tone to say, hey, man, we know what we got to accomplish. Last year don't matter. What we do in the regular season don't matter. We want to make a run in the playoffs and try to potentially go to the Super Bowl. And I think that was the tone was set by the leaders of the team. And to be real, even as a Steeler fan, that game was in the bag. The game was in the bag, and dude got greedy. And that's not Marvin Lewis's fault. You can't tell me that this dude was supposed to he was trying to show off. He was trying to break away and really ice the game. No, just running to the line of scrimmage. Clock keeps on ticking, bro. It keeps on ticking. That's maturity. That's levels of growing up. And as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I could still feel empathy for friends of mine that are Bengals fans, like DJ Killer Kev. Him and I talked right after the game. He's like, man, I can't believe it. And I can't even rub it in because I'm a realist. That game was over. There was no way they should have won that game. But crazy things happen in the playoffs. That's why we love it.
No, I mean, and that just narrative took off on its own. It's important, obviously, to get to the playoffs, but you get that honeymoon year. And the Browns got to the playoffs this year. Like, let's be honest, if they would have lost to Pittsburgh, who cares? I mean, Browns fans, like, we were just like, you know what? We got to the playoffs. That's cool. But with that run game, with that offensive line, with Baker playing the way he was at the end of the season, it was like, then it became it's not just good enough to get there. You have to beat the Steelers team who's on the ropes. Like, they're reeling. Not just because Cleveland beat them the week before. But that's why heading into this season, the biggest game, yes, I mean, it's generic to say, but that playoff win for Baker was so damn big because now that's one narrative he doesn't have to worry about. He has the weight of the world on his shoulders right now because there is so much pressure on him. And what he does not have to worry about is, I mean, you have to win when you get to the playoffs, but that's one less narrative that he has to debunk. That's one less narrative that he has to worry about hearing from the media and from the haters and blah, blah, blah. Because that's going to, every time a quarterback makes the playoffs, for what we saw with Lamar, has these miracle seasons, these great. I mean, he saves Harbaugh's job in his rookie season, wins MVP in year 2, loses both of those playoff games. Year 3, gets to the playoffs, gets that playoff win, and puts an end to that whole narrative. Oh, see, he can't win in the playoffs, and that was real. That narrative was real.
And let's be real about it.
Josh Allen, same thing.
The way life is. I mean, I'm not going to blame it on society, but this is just the way things are now. I mean, social media, the fans have direct access to the players, and they're human beings too. They check their social media. Like, I mean, I find it very hard to believe that athletes don't see 1,000,001 mentions at their name, and they're not going to be tempted to click it to see what people are saying or turn on ESPN. Maybe they love basketball too. And now, let me catch the highlights from the Warriors game. Let me see what Steph did tonight. No, we ain't talking about Steph. We talking about you throwing 3 interceptions. Like you said, that pressure constantly, that chirping, that it's got to get into their heads.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Good stuff today. A lot of stuff we didn't even dive into that we'll have to move back to tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow to get into this Pete Rose story. You know that show, How to Get Away with Murder? Like, if there was ever a documentary on OJ,
the third season
that would
coming
be
out.
Like, if you ever were looking to get away with murder, OJ is who you would call. Right. Well, have you ever thought that you would be able to call Pete Rose for gambling advice? There was a big press conference for Pete Rose yesterday. Pete Rose was something we're going to have to get into more tomorrow, but he is going to sell picks for baseball and other sports through a website. That dude, I'm telling you what, and he's 80. He turned 80 yesterday. Kev, 80. I knew he was old, but I'm like, he doesn't look in good shape, but he doesn't look 80. Of course, he keeps coloring that hair of his.
I was just about to say that, but I'm glad you did.
No, because
wearing a white hat.
One of my favorite Joe Morgan memories. Joe Morgan was in Dayton, and we're doing the show with him, and I remember talking about Pete Rose because it was around the playoffs that just ended, and Pete Rose was on Fox with A-Rod and everyone else, and Pete Rose had just colored the hell out of his hair. I mean, it was just, it looked like shoe polish galore in his hair. And Joe and I were talking. I remember saying, "And could you do something about Pete's hair color? Can you get that hair dye away from him?" And he lost. I was like, "I'm so cool. I'm making Joe Morgan laugh right now." I felt so cool, and it was all over Pete Rose's hair. But maybe that's why he doesn't look as old as what he actually is, though. So nonetheless, but good for him. He's like, screw it. They're not letting me in the Hall of Fame.
No.
So I might as well. That's what he's known for. And right now with Barstool and everything, sports betting is so huge.
Right.
He's leaving money on the table. I love that he's doing this. I know some people are like, he just can't get out of his own way.
No,
I hate when people say that. He should have done this a long time ago.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame when he's dead and gone. So his thought process is, well, I'm not going to get in there to enjoy it while I'm here on this planet living. I'm going to continue to stack generational wealth for my family. More power to him.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But we'll step away for a few moments. If you missed the interview that we have with Ken Anderson, former Bengals MVP quarterback, Bengals legend, we have that coming up for you next if you missed it. Really good stuff. We talked with Ken Anderson about what the Bengals should do with that draft pick, with the number 5 draft pick, and we also talked about the Ring of Honor and what that means to him being one of the Bengals' former greats. That's coming up. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 14.